and welcome to episode 88 of the Destiny Digest podcast. 88 episodes, everybody. We're 12 away from 100. It's gonna be a good milestone when we hit that. We have with us tonight Epic Dan. Epic Dan.
Hello.
Say hi to the folks. We have Ill Physics coming to hang out and talk about PvP with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on, dude.
Thank you for having me.
We have Tiddly. And we have Bonafide Hero. And myself, I'm Dan. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this thing. So welcome in, everybody. What have you guys been playing this week? Tony, why don't you start first since you're the guest?
Same
what have
thing
you
as
been
Dan. Same thing as
Been
Dan.
rocking Elden
just
Ring?
not as far in. Elden Ring. I'm telling you, that is a time sink. That game is incredible. Like, just deserves all the accolades that it's received. So yeah, Elden Ring. It's my first playthrough. So I ain't a goat like Epic Dan over there.
No.
Out there like one shot and bosses and stuff. But otherwise, first playthrough about a little over probably 2/3 through.
Sick.
And just super enjoying myself, exploring, beating up bosses. Yeah.
You have a
it's
favorite
blast.
yet?
It's a blast. Do you have a favorite boss?
Yeah.
Honestly, I like the Crucible Knights. Those Crucible Knights are crazy.
Really?
Like, we're just talking about like
I
a mini
hate
boss.
'em.
Yeah. I love them. I love them because their movesets, they don't really leave any room or for you to breathe.
Yeah.
So you really have to learn those movesets, in order to kind of anticipate them and find an opening, for your particular build.
They are stressful for me, even now.
Yeah, they're stressful, but I guess the PvP, sweat in me, I guess. Just really.
No reward without challenge, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
Most definitely,
Yeah.
most definitely. So.
Yeah.
I really like the Crucible Knights. Obviously there's like little mini bosses or whatnot, but I've enjoyed that. But still, haven't come up against Millennia yet. Which obviously everybody, even if you don't play the game, I'm sure you've seen some clips of that. One of the tougher bosses in the game. Just found out yesterday that boss is not even a required boss.
Nope.
It's off the beaten path. So. I'll have to. I'm sure I'm coming up to that soon, where I can access that quest in order, quest or storyline in order to get there. So I look forward to that. And yeah, just kind of pushing through the mountains up there, but having a great time. It's a nice diversion. I always say breaks are good. I know a lot of us no life, or at the very least in the past have no life Destiny 2, and yeah, breaks are good. And this has been a great one.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
So what's your build?
I love bleed, man.
Yeah.
Good
I
old
love
bleed.
blood builds. I love blood builds. I literally pulled my PS4 out of storage for Bloodborne sometime in the next like couple months after we finish up with Elden Ring, and of course you got the new Elden Ring game coming out as well. But I love blood builds. So just been working with that, between that and let me see. Like, whenever I go into a new game myself, I mean, even with Destiny 2, I don't watch a lot of videos. I kind of just love the experience of just like pushing through it and learning as I go. And then I'll ask questions. Most people in my chat have already played it, so they're a great resource. But they're great about no backseating and just kind of allowing me to experience and explore and learn things on my own and figure out, what this is weak to and what this is, what element that, maybe this boss is, strong against or whatnot. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't know how to talk about builds in the way that maybe the Elden Ring community is a strength dex build. No, I just put stats where I need them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. I've got like 30 endurance. I've got I think I'm like level 145 total or something like that. I probably the most that I've got right now is dex. I've got probably like 35 dex. But I just kind of put stats where I need them to use the weapons that I enjoy or that I'm looking forward to using. I think the most recent weapon that I picked up that I've really enjoyed was Morgott's curved sword.
Yeah,
I think is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So that's where I just increased my dex up to 35 just for that right there. But yeah, overall, like what I know what to talk about, I really love like blood builds and, got the white mask and, got the talisman and, just trying to stack on top of that. So it's been fun. It's been a nice learning process. And after knowing so much about Destiny 2, it's nice to get into a game that's as deep as that, build crafting wise, or just, lore wise, game mechanic wise, and just know nothing, just
Feel
know
kind of
nothing.
lost.
It's good.
Yeah, a good lost, a good lost. I'm old school, I'm 41 years old, so this is the way that we were doing games.
Yeah.
Before the internet was prominent, right? And so just learning through experience, just picking up things one thing at a time. It's been a really rewarding process. So
has the community been treating you well? Like not too much backseating, like helpful comments, that kind of thing? The directory has been pretty good.
I think the directory's been pretty good, honestly. There's always going to be somebody that comes through and assumes that you need something, especially us as creators. We're sitting on the mic and we're asking a lot of rhetorical questions.
Yes,
right.
We're working out ourselves and out loud. Yes,
working that process and just kind of like speaking out loud and that sort of thing. And so, I can imagine that folks get the wrong idea maybe coming into the chat and think that we're actually speaking to the chat. But, a quick, line correction right there. And it's, everybody's been pretty chill and, we've been doing this a while. So all of us are pretty personable, people as far as like how we speak to, especially, newer viewers to get them acclimated. So, yeah. Community's been great.
It's cool. Really, really quick. Epic Dan, you celebrated a monumental victory this past week. How was
my struggles done?
I mean, it seems like it only added more struggles, but
you're gonna go back and do it again naked, right?
Wait, no, you can't do that on Twitch, Bona.
No, Tedley.
No. My character was naked. He ran around with the white diaper.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you have to run around naked because you need the reason a lot of times people would ask why am I running around naked, and it's because you cannot level up.
Yeah.
You don't have the ability to increase your equip load. So your equip load is already like, I think as a level 1 wretch, it's like maybe 55. And as that goes up, you reach a new threshold, which is light load, medium load, heavy load, overloaded, something like that. That makes you move slower. That makes you, when you need to dodge, you get fewer iframes or immunity frames.
So you literally maybe be like pinpoint perfect. Pretty much.
Yeah, you can do it with it, but you also struggle in certain fights, especially with Melania. I had to light roll because there were certain attacks I would get one shot by. And the only way I could not get one shot by is not to get hit. And in order to not get hit, I had to light roll, which gave me about another few inches of like distance dodging
on the dodge.
Distance on the dodge. Yep. Because I tried, there was like one build I tried and it was really good. But the moment she did an attack, you cannot dodge it. So every time I would try to roll it, whatever, she would always clip me. And all it takes is one clip and like instantly dead. So that's why a lot of times there are certain ways around it. Like if you're running like parry or something like that, it doesn't matter. There's certain builds you can do. But at that point, I'd rather be really safe and dodge and all that stuff. So most of my playthrough, I literally just ran around naked. And there was like maybe one or two fights I wore a mask, and the mask was only there. It makes you look like a ugly, like I think it's called an imp, something like that in the game. But I only ran it because I needed to increase my strength because armor will have different stat distributions hidden in it to give you a little bit more either strength, arcane, faith, dexterity, stuff like that. So I basically ran around with like we my chat call it Daniel the Diaper Man. Basically just walking around just in a diaper. Didn't have any clothes. Yeah. So I just ran with a diaper with just a mask on. And then I ended up looking like a Ninja Turtle later because I found I had a shield that was a turtle shield. And if you dual wield like another weapon, it would go on your back. And it basically is a turtle shield. But I put that on because it had a 20% increase to stamina regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all this weird stuff I had to do to like make the run work for certain fights. But I mean, I did get it all done.
Yeah.
And, I beat the game, and I think the run took about 110 hours.
Yeah.
And there was like only like a few fights that took a super long time, Melina being one of them. But it was, I mean, once you are done, there's like the instant dopamine rush.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was saying last night, there was multiple parts of the run where I literally felt like I wouldn't get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just so difficult and you had to be so perfect. And then I remember like I had a strategy for one fight, but the problem with the strategy is the moment 3 minutes went up, my strategy would break because I had to use I had to use like the physics to like create the build.
Mm-hmm.
And that thing only lasts 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to turn a 10-minute fight into a sub 3-minute fight. And then you got to be more aggressive, but also be more perfect. But after I got it done, it was absolutely worth it. I would highly recommend, not Tony yet. You get more experience first, finish the game first. But if you ever want to like go back, I would highly recommend it. I think he would have really liked it. It's interesting because I feel like
I took that 2 ways. Just going to
as you would like it, but I'd rather you enjoy the game first.
Yeah,
You definitely will have a different feeling of the game.
Yeah.
Dan,
but it literally makes you feel really, really good at the end. I will say that.
So Dan, do you feel like there's anything that you've done in Destiny that compares to that feeling, or is this like completely different? Like any
in gaming in general, there's a few things that I can think of historically that are on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for me, I remember a long time ago, before streaming was ever a thing, I remember doing a solo all skulls legendary playthrough of Halo 3 solo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, baby.
And I remember doing that. I mean, I had no one to talk to about back then. It was like 2009.
I
went to tell college. Yeah, I used to tell folks at college, and they were like, so. But that was one. That was definitely, it wasn't 3, it was Halo 3 ODST. And I remember spending like a month on that. And then I would go to class, come home, and work on a level. And go to class, come home, work on a level. Just because I just wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as Destiny, the only thing I can think of that has ever taken as much skill, as much practice for me is probably when I duoed Scourge of the Past.
Scourge?
This is before they nerfed Sniper. This is before they patched a lot of the stuff that made those low mans incredibly difficult back then. But it was also because of how in sync you and your, I guess it's a little bit different with the 2-man, but it was equally as difficult, but equally as rewarding because you had to be frame perfect on a lot of stuff to get it done. If one person was slow, the run was over. If one person was too fast, the run was over.
Mm.
And you had to do that 4 times in a row. You also had to be perfect because each phase before the wipe happened was about 2 minutes and 26 seconds, I think. So both players had to be like, it had to be super perfect back then. It's before the raid went away, it was way easier. But at least those 2 things instantly came to mind last night was when a 2-man Scourge of the Past original version, because I have to always mention that because there's a couple of versions you could have done. But the original version, and then for a solo experience was definitely legendary all skulls Halo 3 ODST.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I know last week I was ranting about it, and I was in the back of my head, I was like, I don't know if because I wanted to get it done by Monday, so I could focus on getting a lot of my Destiny stuff caught up on and finishing some dungeon stuff I wanted to do, just getting all the last minute things I wanted to do. So like I mentally made a deadline of what I wanted to get done. So then I had to really start locking in of like, I'm just going to sit on stream and I'm just going to get this done. I can't end stream until I progress to this point.
Yeah.
And there are multiple sections where like, there was one boss I spent 15 hours on, Fire Giant, and that was incredibly difficult. And then Melania took me 13 and a half hours. And it was a few others that were like 6 or 7 hours. So it's a lot of like, a lot of people kept saying, man, you got all the patience of the world. And I was like, no, I'm just incredibly stubborn.
That's the
And
coin. That's
I'm
the
not
other
a
side of the
big
coin.
fan of putting content on my stream and not committing and following through with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I say I'm going to do something on stream, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if
it's
I
law.
don't want to continue doing it, I'm going to use me telling my stream and telling chat that this is what I plan on doing and using that as motivation to make sure I see through with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you
And
you
I had
give
to keep
yourself
telling that.
accountability.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They hold
So,
you accountable. Or
mhm.
makes you
Heck
feel
yeah.
accountable to them to complete it. Yeah.
They might
Yeah.
not feel that, but I literally would say multiple times, I can't quit because I said I was going to do it. And if I've gotten whatever amount I was in, if I got that far, I can finish it. I just kept, saying that over and over.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, congratulations. That's a huge feat.
Thank you.
Huge
Yeah,
feat. Good
definitely.
job. Tiddly and Bono, what about you guys? What have you guys been playing?
You go, Tiddles.
So the current season of Fortnite's really fun. So I've been playing that a little bit. We have our strat. We know which guns we like now. Like it's kind of down to a science. I mean, I don't know. It's like I play it casually, but it's really fun.
Fortnite's down to a science.
Yeah, no, we have like it's like in a specific season, like the guns change, the locations change. I'm playing regular, not the OG re-release. Just because the lack of shields is kind of problematic for that. But like we land in a certain place, we pick up a certain heal bot, then we like loot up, and then we rotate, and then we get like porta-forts, and then we get high ground, and it's like it's great because we have this whole like system now, and it's really effective. Like we do pretty well in our casual Fortnite games. So that's really fun. But then I've been really enjoying Marvel Rivals.
Okay.
It's super fun Overwatch like hero shooter.
Yeah.
And so I've been picking up a few different characters in that and trying to like learn them better. I'm on Overwatch, I'm a healer tank main. Actually, Reinhardt's my favorite character. So I've been trying to pick out some characters that are similar to characters that I like in Overwatch. I always think that I'm like gravitate towards tank like characters because I'm kind of short in stature in like real life. And so it's like I want to be the biggest, buffest guy in this entire video game. So I'm definitely not compensating at all. And then also I this week I took my first foray into the new Diablo season.
Okay.
So that is very, very early on. I picked up a Barb character, so we'll see how that goes. Like I feel like at the beginning they really start you off kind of like a little like weaker. So I need to like play more to get my character level up to the place where I'm feeling like the numbers are going burr and I feel powerful and my build is building. And so I'm not there yet. I'm just starting out the introductory stuff. So far this season, I feel like in Diablo, like the story was better last season. This season feels a little like the Destiny's like Revenant story because you're like, oh, I'm gonna go and
I get that reference.
I'm gonna go and collect these, Grim Favors, and I'm gonna go back to the Tree of Whispers, and then I'm gonna collect these Grim Favors, and then I'm gonna go to the Tree of Whispers. Does that
You
sound
talk to a
familiar
door in
at
that
all?
too?
Basically, basically.
That just starts grunting at you.
So yeah, it's definitely like so far I like it less than last season, but I have just barely scraped the surface. It is a lot. So that's me.
Heck yeah. Bono, what about you?
What can I say? I've actually been doing a few different closed beta alpha sort of stuff that I can't go into too much. So
That's cool.
The little amount of time I have been able to sort of play, haven't streamed really. But I've jumped into some of those, and some of them I'm allowed to take sort of footage of, some I'm not because there's something on my PC that stops that. It's really crazy because they're all about the NDA and securing that, which is good. So yeah, when the time comes, I can talk about that. Other than that, I haven't really been able to do much, and you don't want me to go over Pokemon Go again, so that's
There's
just
nothing
fucking
written about
raiding,
that.
man. I'm just here coordinating
it.
people in a park, 80 people in a freaking park to jump into raids and shit, man. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
No, there's nothing really there. I got my I'll be back on Destiny on Tuesday, games give, and then we'll see what else. But I started Baldur's Gate last Monday. I guess that was the last time I
How is that
streamed, so-
going? I love that game.
Yeah, it was good. Good. Yeah, played it with people who've played it before, and had to reload a save because I fucked us up like 3 times.
Oh,
Wait,
What'd you do? What?
Are you scum saving already, Bona?
No
I'll
honor
name
mode?
drop him. I'll name drop him. All right. Rev was like,
Rev.
all right, Bona, if you go into that room and talk to that character, don't bring this side character this party member with you, because we were only 3 at the time. He's like, don't bring this party member because they'll attack her on sight. So literally 2 seconds later, I walk into the room.
I feel like I know.
She's right behind me. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta live with the consequences.
We had to
we reload from a previous save in real life, Bona. What are you doing?
if only we could. Imagine.
Gotta go honor mode.
The amount of stupid ADHD things I take back.
So, what's your character there?
Oh, I'm a bard.
All right, Bard. Yeah.
Oh,
Nice. Bard on that, and I'm also a
nice.
bard in this IRL campaign that I started back in December for the first time. I'd never played D&D before.
Heck
Do you have a cleric in your party, or are you using Shadowheart?
No. We'll
Okay,
see
so
who
you're
that
gonna
person
basically be
is,
the
so-
healer then in your party.
Yeah.
pretty
Pretty
much.
much,
Okay.
yeah.
So you'll have to
Pretty
see. You'll have to see how that specs in, and like for some of the harder fights. So
Exactly right.
Wait, so who are the other people running?
So you'll know Rev, and then
No, I mean, yeah, I mean Rev.
Oh,
I mean, like, what
Rev.
other classes?
There's what's he playing as? He's playing as like an artificer or a wizard, and then we've got a barbarian, and then we don't know who the third person would be.
Okay.
So barbarian, artificer, and a bard walk into a bar.
Gotta get you a fighter in there.
You're busy on Mondays at
Listen,
2 a.m. your time.
and give me a reason to play Baldur's Gate again.
oh my god, we should do a Destiny Digest
Please.
Baldur's run. That would be so fun.
do it.
When crossplay
I've been
comes,
waiting.
Thing.
That would be super
crossplay
fun.
comes.
Yeah. How are you
Which is
liking the
soon, isn't it?
IRL
So-
D&D, Bona?
So I turned 30 in 3 weeks, and
Ooh.
my one
Oh,
thing
young.
for my 30th birthday was a custom miniature,
Heck yeah.
like made up.
Oh, those
off
can get
this
expensive.
Yeah. So this is like this is off of like a website called Hero Forge. So you
Yeah.
can literally go through, choose your
Mhm.
race, everything, little things it's holding, its stance, move. It all takes like 3 to 4 weeks to make, and you can get it colored, you can get it metal, you can get it just plastic uncolored. So yeah, now I've got like a colored piece coming for my 30th. So it'd be
Very
every time
cool.
I put that down on the thing, I'll be like, my wife got me that for my 30th. So it'd be nice.
That's cute.
That's
Nice.
how it's
That'd be
going. I'm
wise.
really enjoying it. So
And you're playing a bard in that as well, you said?
yes, and I've basically snuck in a speaker, like a Bluetooth speaker, into our sessions, and I've got a playlist. So whenever I do Bardic Inspiration, I'll just press a button on my phone, and then it's just like, it's just what do you call it? It's like covers of Bard versions of songs that start playing.
great. You should bring a recorder in.
Fun.
Like
Just
Like,
start
what
is
playing
that?
a
With a little
recorder.
flute?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got my son, one of my son's like little like guitars. It's like couldn't even
Mhm.
call it ukulele, but it's got strings on it. And I took that and just started playing it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. No,
That'd
I'm
be
a
great.
menace.
Works.
I'm a menace. So no, that's me.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
You guys are doing so much. I'm just over here playing Destiny and Elden Ring.
Oh man,
you
that's
know?
a whole
Yeah.
work schedule right there.
Yeah,
You
man.
guys
Yeah,
I was
Nobody
gonna say, I
seriously
feel
through
like
y'all, you
those
know?
are two very time intensive choices.
Come
They
on,
are,
you're playing
yeah.
Diablo. Like it can't be more time intensive than Diablo. And
That
you got
dep-
like 6
Elden
hours
Ring
at
can,
the same
yeah.
time.
I
Come
don't
on
know. I
now.
feel like it
Dan
can.
said
And
110
also,
hours.
also, I
Mm-mm.
like you can play. You can play Diablo casually too. Like you don't have to get to 300 every season. Like you can play it casually. So
I'm sorry, there's 300 in Diablo.
yeah,
I've never
yeah,
played
last
Diablo, so
season.
I have no knowledge of Diablo.
Yeah, pretty much when you hit 60, you hit endgame, and then
Mm-hmm.
after that, it's just like you know level up that perfecting it, leveling up all your glyphs and like all of your nodes and stuff. So, but yeah, you don't have to.
Do they
play
have boosters?
boosters? You mean like the Mountain Dew code?
No,
I think they'll have
no,
like
no.
extra.
Do they
can
have
purchase
people
levels.
boosting?
They have like extra XP, like kind of like like time frames, kind of like Dusty has like, oh, bonus gambit this week, guys, get in there.
Is that how the devs sound?
Everyone loves gambit. I was like dead silence. We're like, that's not gonna work for me.
That's great.
What about you,
That
Dan? What are
one
you,
person playing Gambit is like me.
I love Gambit so much.
They had to get
It's
the
my
bento
entire
box, guys.
identity.
They had to get the bentos. Me, I've been playing. So I off stream, I've been playing Veilguard.
He's like, I've been playing so much Gambit.
Yeah, so much Gambit. The most Gambit.
So much Gambit. Gosh, just too much.
I've been off stream. I've been playing Veilguard, and
How's that going?
That's Dragon Age, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just got into Act 2.
Medieval Mass Effect.
So starting to like, it's starting to pick up a little bit. I'm still iffy on the story. It's mainly been like,
Story is the weakest part.
Yeah, the dragons. I've just been fighting a bunch of dragons lately, and that's been really cool. And so those have been fun to take on. There was one fight where it's like 2 dragons at once. And that one was cool. But
the dragons are the coolest part.
Can we just appreciate Dan's face? Then it was like the happiest little child.
They are so cool.
Oh my god! And then there were 2 dragons at the same time.
It's really like so you're fighting one dragon, and then they heal that all the way up as a second dragon comes and flies in halfway. Like once you get that first dragon down to like an nth of health, and like it just was like it was a cool moment. I was like, I'm gonna have to do all this over again, but it hasn't been that bad. I think I'm like level 40 or something like that on my character.
Oh,
now.
you're good, yeah.
So it's a walk in the park for the most part. Like you can definitely see the parts where they tried to make it a live service game and where they had to pull the reins back a little bit to like to make it a single player experience. And so yeah, it's a little disjointed in all of that, but it's been fun for the most part. I played Balatro on stream on Tuesday and lost like hours. I lost hours of my night.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah,
my people have been trying to get me on that for the last like
excellent.
2 months. I'm
love
scared.
that game.
It's great.
So
I have it on my
good.
phone. I got it on my PlayStation now. And
not on the phone. You're never gonna stop.
Nope.
I already know.
It's
I already know what it's gonna do to me.
I've been watching Markiplier videos. Markiplier.
That's the worst part about it is that you can passively play it and sink hours into it while doing anything else.
Yeah,
that's what's scary.
Oh, that is
yeah. I've been watching Markiplier play it, and he's like, I think I figured it out.
I understand it now.
I understand it now. But like, and so watching him, I've actually gotten better at playing it because I'm like, okay, I'm looking for multipliers. That's what I'm doing. We just want big mults, baby. We just want big mults. And so figuring that out. Yeah, it's been.
You are going to never leave the bathroom.
Yeah, I don't have legs anymore. They fell off.
I was gonna say your legs are gonna get really numb.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I can't feel my left butt cheek anymore. This is the Balatro experience.
Yeah, but it's like that game's so freaking good. And then I got to the point. I think I'm about like 4 or 5 days in on Metaphor Refantasio in that game. So
You're playing bangers right now.
Yeah,
is that the game you were recently playing, Dan?
Yeah, he played that like back in
these
December.
are the Game of the Year selections, right, Dan, that you were going through before. Yeah.
So like Metaphor, I'm on that first dungeon where you have to take out the guy after the inauguration, and so I've got like 5 or 6 days that I can knock him out before the game ends.
Your free days, yeah.
Yeah. So I like the day-night cycle in that because you have. Like during the day, you can do like chores. During the night, you can do chores, and that buffs your stats
we discussed
along the
this
way.
Last time, yeah.
No, well, that was Moonlighter. That was Moonlighter.
Oh,
this is a
this
different
is not
game.
the one where you have the little store.
No, this isn't the one where you have a store. It's not capitalism the game. So, but it's there is day-night cycles, so you do have to.
It's menial labor. The game.
Yeah, you fill your time. You fill your time doing that, and then on the days that you do dungeons, it takes up the entire day. So it's that's been a lot of fun. So Metaphor Refantasio, highly recommend that to everybody. That and Balatro, those are wonderful. But yeah, outside of that, I played a little bit of Destiny, And that's how we're going to transition into what everybody played in Destiny this week. What all have you guys been doing? I've basically only done helps this week, for the most part. So
Fair.
what's
What have you been
everybody else
helping on?
doing?
Yeah,
did
Iron
some-
Banner.
Like, what is that a help with at the
Banner?
moment?
Yep,
Yeah.
Iron Banner. Yeah,
Iron
definitely,
Banner, Kel's Visions, and all
Is that still 2 weeks at a time?
Mhm.
I'm
Still
so out
2
of
weeks.
touch.
It's going to drop
Yeah.
down to 1 week starting next episode.
Mhm.
Oh, gee, I wonder why.
really?
It was Fortress this week.
It was Fortress this week, and then last week it was Eruption.
And Control.
Yeah.
Like the first week is always like Control and
Correct.
something.
Eruptions
Correct.
where you get kills or whatever, and then
You're
you
right.
If you're on a
slowly die.
5, if you're on a 5 kill / assist streak,
you
then
have
you
to
show
keep
up on the
getting
board.
kills to.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then you have a time limit before you explode. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
I want to bring Rift back.
I was telling the guys before we got going that, I mean, I haven't been playing a ton of Iron Banner at all, but it benefited me because I hopped on, did one stream of Iron Banner, played for like 2-3 hours, and then leveled up my Iron Banner rank to get the God roll
Yeah.
side
Yeah.
And my
You
friends
even
are
have
like,
to grind.
my friends are like, oh, I was too high level. I couldn't do that. I was already past that and I was like, yeah, I guess it sucks to play Iron Banner all the time. This is your reward for that. So anyway, I got that and I was
Crazy
like, well, I
savage.
guess I'm done with Iron Banner now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
actually really easy. Really
We were
easy.
running Trip Glaives the entire time.
Oh, that's
And
fun.
It's just stupid.
Where was my invite? I
It's-
would
well,
have canceled
you're
all my
welcome
meetings.
anytime. You're welcome
I would have
anytime.
canceled all the meetings.
Anybody
man.
wants to run Trip Glaives with me, you got it, baby. I'm here.
I'll have to show you my build, man. If I can.
But yeah, so
I had
we
Rev
pretty much
yelling
did
at me.
that. We did Kel's Fall. We did some Kel's Vengeance. That's been the majority of my playtime in Destiny this week. So yeah. What about anybody else?
Yeah. Bento boxes a little bit. I've been doing
Oh,
bento
yeah,
boxes.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Help the husband get his dungeon bento box. Just got a shattered throne checkpoint, and we just
Mhm.
2-manned it twice. It was super
Yeah.
easy. So
Easy.
and the drifter has the original ones, and then Zur brought a few more
Mhm.
bento bounties. Weird thing to say, bento bounties.
A lot
But it's
times
not
fast.
terribly hard. I had somebody come into chat and they're like, oh, this is like, you're getting through these pretty fast. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I guess it's not a great idea. And you just spread them out so I have content for streaming. I'm like,
just
these
do
are
them.
too easy.
Just do
I
them.
gotta I know. I'm like, well, I guess if I finish them faster, to Marvel Rivals faster. So
Yeah,
there you
exactly.
go. But I don't know. Have you guys been doing the bentos? And if you have, what have you been redeeming your tokens for? I'm curious because we talked about that a little bit last week.
My answer to that is I don't know what a bento is. Like,
Okay,
like-
that's a no.
Yeah, I gotcha.
No, I have not been doing
Oh,
whatever
boy.
that is.
So
man.
so essentially, we talked about it a little bit before, but
Mhm.
it's kind of this intermediate like little event
It's kind of like
before the
season
new
of the
season
Wish.
starts. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so basically the Drifter and Zur have these bounties. It's like get kills with like weapons from this activity, like complete two dungeons or whatever. So they're really easy bounties and they give you tokens, and then the tokens can be redeemed for adept trials weapons. I think there's like two
Okay.
trials weapons
Oh, I
that are
didn't see that on
available.
the yeah.
From mementos. Not all mementos are available, but there's a good spread of mementos you can grab. You
Can I get
Cloud
the
Strike.
Salvation's Edge one from it?
Nope.
No.
No, so trials is
Oh.
not available. Salvation's Edge is not available.
It's not available anywhere in the
um,
game.
but you can, if you have FOMO for some mementos from the previous like seasonal stuff that's come
Yeah.
through, then you can pick those up. You can also get
good.
some harder to find. I can't remember all the things that are available. It's harder to find, kind of like consumables.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Like
The
there's one-
cipher, ascendant
Ciphers,
shards,
yep,
and
yep.
stuff.
Yeah,
Exactly,
ciphers are worth
exactly.
1. Ascendant shards
Yep.
like are 2 bentos for 1 token. Let's see.
And I'll say Cloud Strike.
Cloud Strike is 3. I think 3 was.
You know,
like
I
the
Three.
don't
expensive
actually,
Only
I
one.
don't
one
actually
three.
have that.
Yeah.
I don't actually
Really?
have
Yeah.
Cloud Strike.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you
Yeah.
There you
go.
go.
Yeah.
Because you have to
There
do
you go.
those master hunts.
Master
On,
Empire hunts.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
it was a chance to drop. It wasn't
It's
guaranteed.
just a
wasn't
remote drop
guaranteed.
chance.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
That's why
so,
they're giving it to everyone as well.
as a
Yeah,
PvP
I knew
player, you
someone
can-
that
you can-
did like
Cloud Strike's really good in PvP. There you go.
It's about well, no, it's about to get a buff. Number one.
Yeah.
It is
number
good.
two,
There
as
you
a
go,
PvP
even more.
player, I don't have a lot of endurance for a chance.
What are they
Yeah.
doing to
I need
it?
that a confirmed drop.
I've died a lot to Cloud Strike like chaining in PvP, so you're
Mhm.
probably gonna see that more in PvP now.
Yeah, I know, unfortunately, but
What are they doing
it's the
to
game
it?
we play.
It was in the TWID.
Correct. Hold on.
Let's see. I've
Let's
got
see,
it. I've got them pulled up. So let's
Yep.
see
So
if I can find
rapid
them.
precision hits create a lightning storm at the point of impact and grants a bolt charge. Added behavior to mortal polarity perk. Precision final blows generate a lightning bolt at the target's location and grants a moderate amount of bolt charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which is the new arc
The new arc,
verbiage
Yeah.
for
Right,
next
correct.
season or for
so
Heresy.
they're kind of like connecting the
Cool,
changes
cool.
to the new arc. I think it's going to be did they say they're adding it as an aspect? I can't remember of the bolt.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool. That's cool.
So they're
Yeah.
trying to make arc more beefy. Interesting to grab.
Yeah.
Until you see what they do to Risk Runner, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, so like we had all of that going. The bentos seem cool. And like something that will bring some players back. Doesn't seem like it's been bringing a ton of people back.
No,
I did have
don't
a couple
think
of people today be like, "Hey, I've took a long break and I'm just now returning. What should I go get?" So that's been heartening to see a little bit, but yeah, for the most part. Anybody else playing anything in Destiny before we move on?
I'll be able to give more like involvement in it next week.
yeah.
As
Next
now I'm
week?
done with Elden Ring. Yeah, now I'm done with Elden Ring. I can actually start focusing on catching up on all the
Yeah.
Destiny stuff. And I figured with it being 2 weeks left, I said, okay, I can. As long as I have the last week to just do all my bento box stuff. I still don't know what I'm gonna buy.
Mhm.
I'm like, do I even still want to participate? Like, I will, but like, there's not a single thing I need in that
So,
list.
I thought so too, but they have a cataphract with that's adept
Yeah,
with
I
envious
saw
and
that.
bait. And
But I already
have
have that though.
Oh, do you have an adept version of it? Because I had
Yeah.
I had a regular version of it, and I didn't have an
Okay.
adept version of it, so I bought it. So I was like, okay.
I spent 27 hours in Trials on
Oh,
stream
Dan, why?
back
Okay, so
when
you earned that.
that thing first came out.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to play that.
I got you beat there, Dan. I did the entire
Basically
freaking
throwing
weekend for
myself
it. Mm,
at the other team, giving them wins.
yep.
Don't worry,
trying to get
I
this.
did the dungeon twice, the final boss twice, and got one. So
Crazy.
I might have to jump back in and do that because I had 3.
I think
god
that's
rolls.
really good though. That's I've told a lot of people get that weapon because it's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
gonna be really good.
yeah,
And it's adept.
It's my main. It's my main
Yes.
PVE heavy that
Yeah.
I use.
Mhm.
Cataphract.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cataphract is
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dan, do you
That's
have
really
one
good.
after deleting your entire vault last year?
Me?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Like odds
There
are
you go,
slim to
Dan.
none, dude.
That's why I
Like-
don't have one. Like it was like the first target of like anything for like any incentive was just to go. So I might have to
Yeah.
Yeah.
literally
Oh,
jump
maybe I
back on
should
just
buy
for
more
that.
than one then, just in case I do.
That's-
That's what I might
shady
do. I might
work.
buy
That's shady
8
work.
of that weapon.
Right, just in
Gotta
case
say.
they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
Darren
People go
need
for it
another one of
straight
these
away,
guys.
You get
man.
full disclosure. If you're gonna provide that as an incentive, you know you need to get full disclosure. You got two. You got duplicates.
This
Yeah.
is why you go full. This is why I always go full.
I'm
clean
telling. I'm
plate
telling
club.
somebody. I'm telling somebody.
Do you?
Oh no, I deleted my adept cataphract.
This is why I
Whatever
always
shall
go
I
clean
do?
plate
Why
club
does he
on
seem
the entire
unbothered
thing.
by this?
Dan, do you when you do your full delete, do you delete the stuff on your characters too?
Typically, chat allows me to hold on to a few things on my
So
character.
you put those things on your character first.
Yeah, and then outside of
Okay.
that, that's when like I wipe everything. There's like a pair. Hold on here. Let me see what I can dig up. There is a pair of pants, Dune Marchers that I've had for like since the beginning of the game. I just got like an insane roll on them.
How is
Do you use
Dune
those,
Marchers
Dan?
falling through
Dan,
the cracks?
Do you use those?
It was like 76. Yeah, occasionally I do. Like it depends. It depends. But But yeah,
sentimental value, heavier.
yes, the very heavy sentimental value. But it's like, I don't know, they were like a pretty good role, and I've had them since the beginning of my Destiny 2 career, essentially. So chat has allowed me to keep those.
For
but
now.
Yeah, for the most part, like I typically delete everything because you get so much loot in Destiny that
Just start
like,
fresh.
True.
that if you start completely fresh, you're still going to be showered in stuff. So
Honestly, armor is
Yeah.
probably worse.
armor's the worst part,
Literally. I think
especially
armor's
artifice
worse
armor.
than
If that's in
weapon.
the vault,
Mhm.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is a pain point.
That's way harder to get
Mhm.
like good stats of again for builds.
And it's
Yeah.
going to be
What-
it's going to be harder after Apollo comes out, because it's only
Yep.
going to like be like 3 stats per thing.
Well, they're reworking it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like the entire
Yeah.
So
distribution. Remember how I was saying a few weeks ago, like it's. I don't feel like I can experiment that much because I'm just holding on to this high overpowered sort of artifice armor from 3 years ago, right? But you
Yeah.
can't get those
Yeah.
high stats artifice armor anymore. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm stuck into this sort of one sort of play style because I refuse to do anything that's not artifice that doesn't
Mhm.
get me up to like 67, 68, 69, pardon the pun, sort of, score. So
Mhm.
I guess if you were just forced to like get rid of it, then all those sort of that care and that worry goes away.
it's oddly freeing.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
when you have
Yeah.
nothing,
Mhm.
it's like, oh, okay, well then
You have so
I have
much
a reason to play.
vault space.
Yeah, I have a reason to play.
And
Like it's
it fills up so fast.
so much room for
Let it
activities.
fill back up. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's great. Just
Now here's a
great.
question for you, Dan, because the community has gone through this sentiment on they like it or they don't.
Mhm.
If you were to see what you do implemented into the core base of the game, as far as
Mm.
like every year, put that stuff aside that you've earned over the last year, and then it's time to move on to a new expansion, new episode, whatever you want to call it. Move on to that new year with with basically nothing.
Yeah.
Would you like that?
So I think I personally would like that because I'm not sentimental. Like there's not a lot that like I look at a hand cannon and I look at a hand cannon and I'm like, you know what? This guy, you've treated me well. You're my best friend forever. I don't have that with a lot of weapons. Like there's a couple here and there, but for the most part, I'm just showered with loot, and so I end up getting rid of it.
Because at this point, we get so much loot. More people have to do what you did, I feel, to find some sentiment of like wanting to go after new stuff. Is what I'm saying.
I would be fine with that. I think the average player, if you were to like degrade their vault every year, I could see them being pretty heinous
So
about
follow
it.
that up to Tiddly from a Diablo standpoint, as I've never played Diablo, but I do know that Diablo does something similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
How would that affect Destiny?
No, it's every season your character moves into from the previous season moves into the eternal realm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to
Okay.
play the new season, you have to start an entirely new character. You have to re-earn the currency in the game. You have to
Mhm.
re-earn your loot. You have to level your character all the way up. So it's definitely more of a grind. I think that it, for the most part, also kind of front loads the time investment as
Mhm.
live service games, because like you're gonna go and invest time right at the beginning when the new season comes out because you have to re-earn everything and do everything all over again. But it's a positive thing. I don't think it's a negative thing at all. I don't think it's something that Destiny players, like Dan said, would be super open to, because it's not something that has ever really happened to them before. It's just not the culture of the game per se. But
Mhm.
I think that it's in Diablo, it's really fun. I think that if they did like a Destiny 3 and did a model like that, then that might be more palatable
Mhm.
for people. But I don't
Mm.
see the way for them to introduce it currently. That
Without a
being
lot
said,
of
like
people getting angry.
a lot of people get super mad. I have done the full vault deletion before and just kept stuff on my characters. And I agree with Dan. It's like super freeing and it's really nice to kind of get rid of stuff. You're like, well, should I delete this or not? And you're like, no, I have to delete this. Like, it's actually really freeing to not have a lot of stuff in the game. And then you really realize when that happens how little you use most of your vault
That's
stuff.
what I'm trying to get at,
You
because
really
I'm really
don't
curious.
use it.
Because
Yeah.
we had that maybe like 5-7 years ago. That's kind of what it was, where you would play Destiny, get all the stuff for a set amount of time, and then that's it. Anything past this, you got to get new. You can use it in newer based content, so you had to go out of your way to do that. Obviously, the community revolted against that.
Sunsetting was not popular
and pulled it back,
and not perhaps implemented as well as it could have been. Yes.
And now we're at that point again where, honestly, at least for me, no matter what stuff comes out, it's either going to be power crept or it's not worth the average player's investment, unless it is a busted combination of like perks and like something.
Yes.
So something has to give, in the sense of like, even in Apollo and Frontier, I'm not gonna go for a new version of Fatebringer just because it has a origin trait. It's not gonna be a big enough thing to make me want to use that versus, Fatebringer, for example.
Right.
So I'm just curious, because just leaning on like the conversation that's currently going on as far as like what everyone's played and a lot of other different experiences, and Dan just himself just making that choice himself to just cut himself off and move on. I'm really curious. Obviously, there's a solution from someone way smarter than me, but something has to give as far as like, and I know a lot of the community is always like, don't take my stuff. I don't want to do this. I don't want to grind. It's like, otherwise you're going to suffer from the situation of sooner or later, the devs are probably going to feel like it's not worth putting the time and investing for new weapons, because either they're going to make it be power crept out the gate, or not enough players will engage in that content to get that gear, because they already have years of content and years of gear equally valuable to them.
Right.
So it's like,
yeah. I mean, I think you have a good point. I don't know that Destiny has a good solution but it is a big problem. I think that the devs are always trying to find a balance between having a game that casual players can come in and play, that's not so grindy, that they can come in, they can play it a few hours a week, they can still take care of all the other stuff in their lives, and they can enjoy the content, versus really not casual players who might invest like 6 to 8 hours a day in the game, and that's just like normal for them. Like players like you, like me, like Dan, like the people on this podcast, if our vault and our entire account was reset to 0, we would rebuild that in no time.
Yeah.
And that would not be a problem for any of us on this podcast.
On that point.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but saying that, if you are, say, like a long-term casual, right? You come back every couple weeks, every couple of months, you've got weapons there, right? That you've had from however long ago. So then you come back and you're like, oh, my shit's gone. I don't even want to play this now. I don't know what to do or how to play. So that sort of same mentality of, having the refresh vault is, won't be as much of a thing for casuals, but like, they'll come back and they're like, oh, there's these new weapons. I don't know what to do. And there could be an argument said that, oh, okay, no, I'm going to go and grab these now. These are brand new toys. I haven't played with these. These are interesting. But it's also taking away from people who quote, play the game casually, that they've lost what they know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, something that they may have invested time and effort, like Dan with his 27 hours in Trials to get that perfect adept cataphract. Like, I mean, even me joking about like, oh, it took me like just a morning of Iron Banner to get exactly the same roll or whatever. I don't even know. Like, sorry, to get the bento token to get that. It's like, oh, does that negates your 27 hours of grinding?
I don't think so.
But I
got it way earlier.
You got it way earlier,
and I used it for a much longer time. I do think like certain webs like that, after a certain amount of time, should just, I don't want to say be given, but if they were to make it easier, if they were to make it easier to get that stuff, I don't care. I don't care. That's going to help my life better. Like if I'm in a raid, they have a equal weapon or equal tool to make my life easier. I'm not going to be mad at that. But obviously a lot of people are like, no, how dare you get the same weapon? I did a year and a half ago and didn't spend 30 hours in Trials. You know,
You're
it's
like, there's no more spoilers. It's been out long enough now.
yeah.
So-
I think the point is more so like the investment, time investment, and
Mhm.
feeling like I spent all this time to get this particular piece of loot, and you're taking that time away from me when you delete that piece of
Yeah.
loot.
Mhm.
And I just think, and I don't think there's a problem with it. I think it's better for the game, and I think that the player population is really low because the grind doesn't seem worth it because we have all the stuff that we need to do anything we want in the game without
Yeah.
grinding for anything else, right? That's
The game's-
the
We also
It's
have a lot of
largely
weapons
solved.
now. If we're being
We have a-
honest, we have a lot of weapons.
It's
we have a
largely
lot of
solved.
weapons. We have like basically we don't. There's no real need at this point to try to grind for anything.
Mm.
So it means
Mhm.
that it decreases the player population, which is a huge problem. I just don't think players. I don't think they mentally are acclimated to the idea that you can just reach into their vault and just like take
Yeah.
their things away. Like they'll be upset about that
There's-
for better or for worse. But I don't think
I
it's
guess
good for
that's the
game.
biggest thing because Dan has made the choice.
Yeah.
I
Right.
guess.
Well,
Right,
chat
right.
chat made the choice for me. I'm
Oh.
happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
yeah.
a charity. It's a charity incentive.
But it's a
like,
player choice.
yeah.
You have player agency to make that choice
Yeah.
versus
Versus being
being
made
told,
forced to
"Hey,
do
you're
it.
not gonna have
told
the
to
same
by
amount."
the exactly.
by big bad Bungie man. Tony. So
Dan
if-
went and emptied his wardrobe himself. He didn't have a big hand come down to his bedroom, take all his clothes out, and throw it out the room, right?
Exactly.
Like,
but for Tony, like, so if your vault, like, how many weapons do you typically use, like, in running PvP? Like, do you have like a vault full of things that you wouldn't want like
That's tough.
gone, or
It's two things for me, that's relevant to that. One is that PvP's, not in the best state right now.
yeah,
PvP is so heavily dependent upon like population size and any sort of modifications to
Yeah.
make on the back end, to matchmaking, to skill-based matchmaking, everything. It depends on a certain degree or a certain amount of the population engaging, consistently. When that doesn't happen, systems end up breaking down. And also just with resources being tight there right now for the last like couple years, definitely for the past like year,
Mhm.
through no fault of the devs, the
Sure.
ground floor devs, of course, but just a lot of low hanging fruit, not taken care of in PvP. And that's just the low hanging fruit. Obviously, we haven't really gotten a significant evolution in PvP for quite a while as well. It's been nice to play some new modes, of course. We'll get an update here or there to Trials or to Comp, and some of that'll be a little bit more substantial than others. Trials in particular, which I can definitely see them putting more resources towards since it's a paid activity in game PvP. But because of that, all I do, for the most part, when I hop on, I'll hop every once in a while in the pubs. Iron Banner is a good example of that. I love playing Iron Banner with my viewers and, just putting on a support build and just being silly with it. But for the most part, I'm playing labs, which is my community scrims, right? And in there, I'm only using like a few weapons simply because of the fact that everybody's going to put on literally their best gear, right?
Mhm.
And so I can't really experiment too much unless we're having like that one of those few days, very, very few days where, we're just doing something kind of silly or whatnot. But because, it's an improvement based environment where people are getting rotated in and out through like a pickups type of format, I want people to use what they're going to use in pubs. I want people to be able to use their best stuff.
Yeah.
And therefore, when people use their best stuff, that means I have to use my best stuff as well in order to, keep things
it's
level.
a smaller pool.
It's a significantly smart, like that's an understatement. I use pretty much like, that's why you basically will only see rows in there, as far as like a legendary hand cannon. And there's like 2 roses that I use. And I use the most variety that you're going to see me use is a variety of different shotguns, because I'm a hand cannon shotgun guy. But there's no heavy, that we use in there. So that just completely marks out any variety,
entire category,
of picking that out, the entire category right there.
Yeah.
The other most variety that you're going to see me is maybe some additional build crafting, maybe an exotic here or there. But as far as weapons, I use like 5.
Yeah.
That's about it. So on the flip side of that, is kind of just like if, for example, I say pubs is doing like great, you know, and I'm able to play pubs, quick play, the whole gamut, you know. Like there are weapons in my vault which I love. Crisis Inverted is a really good example of that, you know. But like the weapons have just been so heavily power crept. It's difficult to put them on. You put them on, and you know, if somebody's got, you know, a Rose, if somebody's got even like an Ice Luna, you know, Ice Luna, you know, like a God Roll Ice Luna in my eyes, like a really balanced but God Roll Ice Luna is gonna have 71 range. The max you can pretty much get on like a balanced Crisis Inverted 65. You know, and that 6 range matters, especially with how the maps are organized. That damage fall off, that especially that last damage fall off change that they ended up making to 140 hand cannons. Because again, I'm a boring 140 hand cannon pellet shotgun player. I think we all know this by now.
Yeah.
Let's move on. But
Tony, I have a question for you.
It was significant. That 6 range is significant.
Yeah.
I can't even, you know, use. I love it. I'm waiting for the time where I can pull it back out. When that 6 range isn't gonna be a detriment. But yeah, that's the reason why, like, I don't use a lot of things in my vault, even though there's quite a few like hand cannons in there that I would love to pull out. Awakened Vigil, for example, I'd love if they just, you know, made Awakened Vigil, and it's got diminished stats. It's been so heavily power crept on its base stats. Just at least make it enhanceable, or give me some additional like +5s, like, you know, here, there. That ain't gonna break anything. It's not gonna break anything. So what was your question, Tidley?
My question is, you say that you have a very, very limited number of things that you can use when you're doing kind of these private matches. Do you feel like it's similar when you're just doing other Destiny PvP stuff, because the player pop is so low and SBMM, that you're like matched in these like really sweaty scenarios where you don't have a lot of viability of other different types of weapons? Or do you feel like it's a little more range there?
It depends. If it's Trials, then definitely, you know, like I'm pretty much going to be running something similar, something tight, you know, very, very little variety, you know, for Trials. But if it's pubs, you know, I don't stress so much. I will open up to like some more variety in there. Because it doesn't, like, the stakes are just not high.
Not as high,
for me,
yeah.
at least personally.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's still like pretty tightly limited. Most definitely, both by
Sure.
the map rotations and also by my skill-based matchmaking, for sure. Even though skill-based matchmaking these days is kind of loose, the population being so low and whatever skill-based matchmaking bracket I'm in, it still feels like pretty
It feels small.
sweaty. It
Mhm.
feels,
Pretty sweaty.
yeah, definitely. I'm playing the
Is-
same
is-
people like pretty much like every day.
all the time. Is this something that's like that? Like, when did this change? It hasn't always been like this, right?
When
It's-
has what specifically changed?
I guess when did you notice that it got a lot more sweaty for you?
To the degree that I couldn't use what I wanted to use?
Yes. Like, how long has it felt
Man,
that way? It's been a while,
that's
right?
been years. That's been years.
Okay.
And I'm not. That's not a overstatement. It's definitely been
I know.
years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask, as a obviously more PvP focused guy than sort of anything else, a lot of people put stuff in their vault and then they're like, "Yeah, that's probably going to come in handy."
Come back around?
You know, come back around,
Yep.
come in handy in a day one sort of situation in PvE. Are you ever like, oh, you know, maybe I'll go and jump into like a dungeon when it comes out, or a raid when it comes out? That might be interesting. Or, you know, maybe this activity in the future is going to herald some good PvP weapon, so I'll have this put aside for those times for PvE? Or are you just like, no, everything is like that set for, you know, what I'm using in PvP now, or it was good and hopefully it will come back around when they make the change?
So you're saying, so the question that you're asking is basically, as a PvP player, do I pretty much just like kind of optimize my PvE and then don't worry about, like, I don't have a lot of variety?
Yeah,
of
like I
PvE
can
in my
imagine you
vault?
probably have like your go-tos, your favorites that are using PvE when you do need to, but is there anything like solely PvE based that you would hoard away like other people do, that they're like, I'm going to hang on to this because it may be good in a future event or something like that?
Yeah, my
That's
thing
not
about
PvP
PvE,
focused.
I hear you. I hear you. My thing about PvE is you can just have more variety in particular in there because you define the stakes, right? A lot of
True.
times you define the stakes, unless it's like a
True.
day one.
95% of the time.
Yeah.
You define the stakes, and therefore you can get in there and be as silly as you want to be. And there's a lot more room for you to be effective with something that's niche or maybe something that's not like super duper heavily optimized. I feel like the weapons, there's a lot more room that you can work weapons than builds. Builds got to be a lot tighter than the weapons. If I'm trying to make like one of my favorite weapons is like a very good, well-rolled like Hero's Burden. It's like destabilizing rounds. It's that perk where that reload perk or whatnot, where every feeding frenzy, reload masterwork. It's good. It's not like crazy 5 out of 5, like best or even just best in class, I would say, at this point. But I love it. I can make that work. My build that synergizes with that got to be kind of tight though. Even if I'm doing something like what is that activity where you go to 50 rounds? I always forget the name. Onslaught. Yeah. You're trying to get to 50 rounds or whatnot. Builds got to be tighter than the weapons that you use, in my opinion. So
I think that just shows how like overtuned subclasses and abilities are right now,
and how the activities have to scale up to that.
Yeah, too.
You have content creators who are doing full solo dungeon runs, abilities only back to back. Like that's how scaled up they are right now. Or at least in PvE, like that becomes somewhat more important than the guns you're actually running, depending on what you're doing. I mean, I go on Titan and I just consecrate. I don't even worry about what guns I'm bringing in. I'm just
what are you gonna do next season though?
Are they nerfing it like crazy?
Yes, they are. But 30%, I think.
What are they?
Is it 30% damage?
Like 30% damage.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll just bring in my Strand Titan and do abilities only there too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you pick. Like and even some of the changes in the arc subclasses, they're making some of the ability stuff stronger too. So it's but I think you're absolutely right about that. I think in PvE, like the subclass you pick can be more important than the weapons, depending. Sometimes I think there's some cases where you're doing something really difficult, like you need to have you have a certain damage numbers. So maybe then that gets more specific.
And that's what I mean by like the day ones or like specific in-game type of goals. Yeah, most definitely, I agree.
Yeah, but even there, like I feel like if you're doing GMs, there's so much flexibility in what you can do with builds because you're doing with the team. And master raid content, like there's so much flexibility. Like even like these really highlight like end game type PvE stuff. There's like a lot of flexibility until you
have
get
liminality with that stupid oscillation.
Dan is so bitter.
Tell us about liminality.
No, I said my piece 2 weeks ago.
I haven't heard
2 weeks ago.
I wasn't here for it, Dan. Can you?
I wasn't here that time. I was, but I still want to hear it.
Oscillation made me say fuck that to that GM for a long time until this week. Finally got it done. Like I played into the synergy. Whatever. I don't like it when a game tells you what you have to bring for the thing. And that was. That's it. That's my 2 seconds of like fuck that.
We're gonna do a Dan complains about liminality jar, and then you're gonna have to put $1 every time you do that in the podcast.
This is the last week I'm gonna do.
This week on what grinds my gears.
It was oscillation, not.
It's not the GM. It's just the
when is Lemon? I bet Lemon is going to be a GM next season too.
I hope so. I hope it doesn't have oscillation.
Oscillation in every GM next season.
It's not. It's going to have the Dan modifier. And it's going to be oscillation hidden.
It's just gonna nerf me all the way into the ground.
It's going to have
intrinsic oscillation. Just
intrinsic
oscillation. Into the yes.
With unstoppable glaive, anti-barrier glaive, and overload glaive for him.
Oh, they are buffing glaives, Dan. Did you see that?
I saw that.
So I saw that every time I see. Oh, I know we're not there yet. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Well,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of excited about that because I would love to introduce some variety into my PvP gameplay loop.
Sure.
And replace my shotgun with the glaive. They just haven't quite been
hit the mark.
Hit the mark as far as what I need in order to replace.
What
my
do you
shotgun,
need for it? Because for me, I hate glaive users the most because they're incredibly frustrating to fight. Because they do the thing with a shield. They do the shield thing. And then they like follow it up. Yeah. Oh man, it's frustrating.
You don't like that.
I'm trying to win my one with a hand cannon versus a hand cannon. All of a sudden a glaive shield comes out. I don't know what to do.
Should have put on.
I'm a
hey,
bit washed up,
them
Tony.
glaive users hate hand cannon users, bro. So
Man.
you shouldn't have had it to begin with, bro.
I'm a bit washed up, Tony. When's the next
Man.
PvP labs? I'll bring the glaive.
Yeah, but what do I need? I need some good flip speed, you know, and I just need something that's gonna hit like an emergency. That's what I use my shotgun for. Mostly is defensively. And
so like a backup
chip
plan,
damage
but for
second.
glaive.
Yeah, but it's got to be
That's even more
consistent. Like so,
scary.
my favorite fusion rifle. I pull out fusion rifles every once in a while. It's rare. Like basically whenever chat's just like, yo, pull out one of them GOAT fusion rifles you be talking about. It's like a Weizen Rebuke with under pressure and backup plan. That thing goes crazy. It'll never miss. It never misses, and it flips fast. So I don't need something, you know, in the end that never misses or, you know, always kills. I like the challenge of making sure that I'm on target and stuff like that. I don't like the RNG element of me being on the mark and you know, too often it ends up like leaving people absolute and not doing what it needs to do, especially with a one-hit kill, you know, special weapon with ammo scarcity and all that comes with that. But you know, that's what I need for my glaive. So
They are increasing their goal is to make it more agile and to reduce the need to reload. So the reload speed is being increased, the magazine size is being increased, which should feel better.
The handling as well,
and then
the base handling.
The base handling, and they're also making the range better and the projectile speed better.
Yep.
So I think that they, for
That's a lot.
me, they feel they're getting a huge rework.
My smile was getting bigger and bigger with each point.
They feel clunky.
I didn't know it was that many things. Yeah.
They feel super clunky. I literally have no glaives in my vault, and I don't reach for them ever, and I delete them as soon as I get them because they feel clunky, and I have no interest in using them. So I don't know if this is going to make me reach for them because I don't like them, but I think you're right. I think that I think it's an interesting thing to bring into the Crucible.
Definitely.
You know? It's an interesting option.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. The other thing about it as well is, so, you know, glaives have some overlap with shotguns in the realm of like a defensive tool, but also chip damage, right? It's a big chip damage tool. Or blinting, whatever you want to call, you know, getting a little bit of damage with one and finishing off with another weapon, you know, or vice versa, right?
Which makes sense as a hand cannon user, right? Because you can get a big shot in and then finish real quick because it's not going to one shot, right?
Exactly. And so that, you know, like just like you said, get a shot in with the hand cannon or whatnot. The shotgun isn't, you know, they're not completely in shotgun range, or maybe like it's two things really. They start pushing and, you know, now you got to flip. You don't have time for those last like two shots with your hand cannon, right? You're getting pushed by this Titan with the shotgun, and so you got to flip fast and get, you know, the one hit kill or whatnot before they end up getting theirs off.
The stow and ready, it makes a big difference.
The stow and ready makes a difference. The fact that you get the chip damage, hopefully with the hand cannon first, allows you to get some extended range because you're gonna get some fall off or whatnot, but you don't need to get like the 240, 230, you know, HP, right? Because you already got the chip damage. So therefore you can maybe get the one hit kill with your shotgun from a little bit farther off, you know, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot to it, but, or maybe not even that much. I don't know if somebody's gonna be like, it's not that deep, Tony, but whatever, y'all, whatever.
It really is just as you explained it. It's like, get a little damage in, finish them off.
Exactly. But the other thing that would need to be closing the gap between a shotgun and a glaive is glaives are just so opaque, you know, as far as the understanding behind them. You know, shotguns, everybody understands that. Anybody that jumps into the game, and this is not a thing where it's just like shotguns have been around for forever. No, somebody can jump into the game and they understand how a shotgun works just right off the flip. It's easy, straight up, you know, point shoot, one hit kill. Pellet spread. Oh, I get that. You know, that's not too complicated. Glaives, I don't know. Like whenever somebody is talking about them and we're incorporating that. We just like incorporated glaives into labs. They were banned as a whole archetype for a while, not because I don't like them, but because I don't understand them. You know, I don't understand. I literally had to get people that were experts in glaives to come through and help me to craft rules specifically around glaives so that we can incorporate them into labs, and we finally did that or whatnot. Do I understand them? I understand them slightly more, but definitely still don't really understand them. And so like part of the gap between shotguns, for example, and glaives, and getting more shotgun users, pellet shotgun users to switch over to glaives, for a lot of that a lot of that utility that they share in the playstyle loop is just making them, you know, easier to digest. You put it on and you kind of like know, you know, how to use it, you know, what the utility is. And there's just, you know, like as somebody that doesn't use glaives, for example, when am I going to have the energy to have a shot? When am I going to be, you know, when am I going to have the energy for to block? How long do I need to block? Like all of that is like kind of opaque. It's not the easiest to kind of just like pick up on the fly.
It's all very situational and like up to so many different variables as well. You open yourself up to like a whole other realm of variables. And I know you're a math man. But
it's just a lot that you have to kind of learn to incorporate into your play style. Whereas with shotguns, there's just not a lot. There's not a lot to it. You know, I could if somebody brand new to the game, I could literally explain it in like 2-3 minutes on a pretty high level.
Understand.
Is that because like, was that because glaives, like, do glaives need a simplification of their identity, or is it something that adds maybe like a skill, like heightens the skill ceiling on things like that, on that
just
aspect?
Experience, I feel. It's like that one weapon archetype that outside of a few people here that use it a lot. It's like Tony said, at least for me, I've always felt like there's very few situations that I can just pick up a glaive and instantly know how far away from a target, PvE or PvP, I need to be to do certain actions. How I can react from them incoming damage, how I need to react to certain things, and then incorporating the whole shield thing and it like draining your energy from doing other things.
Yeah.
I just have never put in enough hours and experience, and every time I pick it up, I'm instantly taking it off because I feel like I'm just hindering my play style, no matter whether it's PvE or PvP. But I have a clanmate who will take a glaive out in a day one raid and he knows how to use it. And every time that glaive comes out, he'll tell me whether or not this is a really good glaive or this is a really good one. And I'm just like, we will wipe on a day one and he'll just say, just put on a glaive. And then I'll watch him like in a day one encounter, just living through certain stuff. Like on Salvation's Edge, we had someone use Lament, but we also had another person who uses the guarding of the glaive to block damage. In the first encounter where you like sword the boss, that one.
The circle room.
I would have never thought to use a glaive there, but like I just personally, I think that's the biggest issue is that it's just not enough use cases that like the players just don't think to use it in.
I have a build at the moment. Sorry, Dan. You
go.
No, I've got a build at the moment where it incorporates the Spirit of the Bear and Spirit of Armamentarium on the class item on Titan. And then obviously using that with your what is it? Unbreakable shield. And then you've got that, then you can also incorporate the Glaive shield, and I'm talking like Vexcalibur here. So you're talking a lot of sort of void synergy with all this, and it's literally like a cannot fucking die build, pull aggro because you're sticking up barricades everywhere, so you pull an aggro, you let your friends do in the party other things. So it can be more of a support distraction type play style in PvE. So it does actually come in very handy. Ever since also they made those shield changes last year for PvE.
I also feel like there's like I use it to kind of like close a gap. Like if I'm up against somebody and it's like a few yards further out than what I'd normally be able to punch, using a glaive, it just like attaches and goes. Like it's just for me it's kind of like a little bit of a movement tech thing of like being able to just...
I've died a lot to people in PvP that way because they just pull up the shield and I just don't know how to get it.
Well, they're pulling their shield, and if they're like me, then they're hitting you twice because there's
then they start stabbing me. Yeah.
There's the combo that is like a 3-fer, but if you're holding your shield, it's 2. It's a 2 combo, and it resets after the second one. So that's what
if you hold the shield, it's a 2 combo. Otherwise, it's a 3-hit combo.
Yeah.
Does it do the same amount of damage in 2?
I believe so. but like you also have the shield up.
I would have
so
never
you're-
knew that.
So you're like you're bopping, dude. So it's
This is why Tony's right though, that it's
Mhm.
not something that you can just grab and use. You're like,
Mhm.
well, if you're blocking, then the 2 combo is stronger and you don't have to do the 3 combo.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what? There's combos?
I would've
Like
never
no
known.
one told me there was
Yeah.
combos.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with Dan though. I see it as a very limited situational use. I
Mhm.
don't see it as best in slot for anything except for blocking. I think that's its main situational
Defense,
unique
yeah.
added value is the blocking feature because the
Currently,
blocking
yeah.
is incredibly strong.
Mhm.
I like watching Butters, and he uses a glaive and Lightblade to block the boss's damage, which is a huge amount of damage. And
In
he'll
the
just
boss room?
he will sit there in GMs and tank boss damage with a
Really?
glaive. Yes. Yes, 100%. So like that's cool, right? I like, but that is literally the only time I could see somebody reaching for a glaive, except for Dan is like creative like day one like utility with the blocking in in like a boss or something like that. That's like literally the best situation for glaives
Yeah.
right now is that
Yeah.
that the block is the big utility that they have, and where are you going to use that?
Well,
There's other
also-
things that yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Dan. Dan, you're the lover of glaives, so your opinion is like, you know.
you also have like Lubray's Ruin from Vow the Disciple.
Mhm.
And like it has the Soul Drinker perk on it where like you gain health based on the number of hits before reloading. Like so it's kind of a no-brainer for me to run that a lot of the time if I'm running a glaive, because I'm just getting health back as I'm using the thing. So like
So survivability. Yeah.
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 It's like you have the block, but you also have like on the attack, you're getting a little extra back. And it's
Mhm.
not a bad time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Well,
But why use that over forbearance, for instance, which I kill things, I get health. Like, you know what I mean? Like
I'm going in and I'm stabbing. And that's
I
the
mean, I'm
action of stabbing
killing
is real
15
fun.
Just started
tiny ads
stabbing.
at the
Some more
same time in
engaging.
one shot.
Yeah.
Like, why am I picking a glaive over?
It's
you
way more
know?
engaging. I'm just going in and I'm just stabbing, man.
yeah. Well, most people. Well, I will agree to what Ted is kind of alluding to. Like engaging is one thing, and I think a lot of us would choose engaging if 2 things were equal.
Mhm.
As far as ease of use and effectiveness. But to be able to just use a forbearance, pop it off. It hits multiple with that.
And then you have Genesis and it pops the
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it heals
And
you.
you're at a safe distance. Right? You don't, especially in
Yeah,
high
I don't
level
have to.
content.
Right.
That's
I mean, I get
fair.
in with a glaive, and then every single enemy, even the floating ones, have a knockback.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not saying it's for everybody.
No. Yeah. I think
But,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
No, I'm just
I
Some
like
people
saying,
like carrots.
Yeah.
Some people like parsnips. Can we,
Yeah.
It's a
I'm
personal
saying,
taste.
I'm just saying, yeah, it's a personal taste thing. But 2 things can be true with this particular, like situation here, But I do agree again, like if both were equal, for example, forbearance and the glaive, then I think most of us would choose something where like we could just get in there and just be engaged the entire time, unless somebody was just trying to like lean back and chill, which is totally valid as well.
Yeah.
But definitely to go back to the changes that they're about to make to glaives, very, very substantial changes to the archetype as a whole. And also alluding to what Tiddly was saying with regards to them just being clunky and these changes kind of addressing that in a lot of ways. I think that's going to be helpful to get a few more people adopting them. And the more people adopt them, the more, creator videos are made on them, and the more that, folks get some practice with it and maybe just understand the archetype, myself included, a little bit more. But, somebody asked a question a second ago, is it because of the skill ceiling, or, maybe alluding to the fact that by making them easier to use, easier to digest, is that going to diminish the skill ceiling? And I don't think so in this particular case. Sometimes that could be the case. I don't think it's so. I think that there are just there's low hanging fruit again with glaives, with regards to making them easier to use, more consistent, that isn't going to take away from the glaive gameplay loop, but will actually make it easier to pick them up, to adopt them, and to be able to stick with them, because maybe you're not as frustrated with the consistency of them, which now at the very least with the hit registration can be quite frustrating, especially in PvP, depending upon connections.
Yeah. To kind of hard pivot here into like away from like glaives and everything, but to move into the Heresy Crucible updates, because that was a huge article this week. It was a lot to take in for the changes that they're implementing. Even more so compounded by like the TWID that came out the day afterward.
Which is
Like,
huge also.
Yeah, it was
also
like huge. There was so much information that came out this week.
Yep.
But Tony, I wanted to get your like thoughts on so the big bullet points here for the Crucible updates was that Trials of Osiris was getting a rework for Heresy. They were going to move away from a flawless based system to get even 7 wins on a card that rewards win streaks with multiple tiers and exclusive aesthetic rewards for higher win streaks. They wanted to provide a selectable alternative experience that is closer to Iron Banner in terms of reward structure and matchmaking to get more players into the Trials ecosystem. They're adding new rewards, including an armor set, Ghost Shell Ship, Sparrow, and Emblem. And they wanted to simplify engagement and matchmaking systems, specifically for Trials. What are your thoughts on these changes that are coming just a few weeks away to this game mode?
Good. It's good.
Yeah.
Like Trials is kind of a microcosm of what PvP suffers from on a larger scale, which is just the fact that we're not getting new players or even like casual players to step in and to refresh the population in there, or at the very least maintain it to the point where it could be a successful playlist, right? And so opening this up, providing more opportunities for folks to engage and define both rewarding gameplay loops that where the stakes aren't so high to the point where even if it's a rewarding gameplay loop, it's just super stressful. Not everybody likes to operate under those conditions in their gaming experience, right? A lot of people getting off work and just want to like grind for what is the second point is just continuing to shower people with loot and make it transparent, how to increasingly transparent how to get the things that they want and that they need. And so providing a variety and a diversity of rewards under a variety and diversity of means to acquire those rewards from this playlist is going to be like a dub overall. So yeah, when we talk about the evolution of PvP, we're talking about seeing new things, right? Seeing old things being transitioned into new things. Kind of diverging from the standard of its past. This is the most evolution that we've seen in PvP in a bit. And this is obviously, the in-game activity. Even more, I would say, than Iron Banner. This is the in-game activity with, for PvP, the kind of like top tier activity, the most prominent one. So it's a good place. If we're going to see evolution, it's a good place to have it. And I'm happy with it. And we'll just see how it ends up like playing out. I'm happy to see that evolution. I'm happy to see the elaboration on the details of that, evolution and who it's supposed to be, evolving for as well. So yeah. We'll see how the execution goes, but on paper, I'm pretty excited and happy about it, and happy for it, and happy for my folks that are more likely to engage in it because of this.
What do you think about the changes to fire team based matchmaking? Because essentially they are expanding kind of like the bracket that you're going to be in on the lower and the higher or fire team matchmaking. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that's good. My first thought behind that when I read that is I'm still wondering what's going on with dynamic fire team matchmaking or dynamic matchmaking. So they mentioned that a while back, right?
Yeah.
And what they said about that was that as the player population changes throughout the day, things would loosen or tighten, with regards to skill-based matchmaking. And maybe that might, I mean, the primary focus was skill-based matchmaking, but I got to imagine that those same systems could apply to fire team matchmaking as well, right? And so that's my first thought is okay. I like fire team based matchmaking. I like that. That's my favorite matchmaking mechanic in this game because I feel like it works. I feel like it provides a degree of fairness that skill based matchmaking and other systems don't allow for as consistently and as broadly. So sure, while the population is where it is right now, loosening those constraints, that makes sense. Honestly,
Sure.
it does.
Yeah.
So that people can
For
get
queue
some good queue
times.
times. Exactly. At the very least. But I'm more interested in this, in where dynamic matchmaking went. Dynamic skill matchmaking, dynamic fire team matchmaking, however they want to, end up phrasing or applying that to, the current different matchmaking systems. Because when the population gets thicker, I'd like to be able to say that I'd like to go back to, like fire team matchmaking the way that it currently exists, because when population is good, you can tell. Iron Banner, for example, like
You
first
can
week,
narrow the
you can
it
narrow
can be
it, and
dynamic.
it
It
feels
doesn't
good.
have to be static. You can narrow
Exactly.
it.
So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where that system, where that dev time,
Interesting.
ended up going for that, because they haven't mentioned it in quite a while.
Maybe
But
it's
it was
still
something
baked in.
that
Maybe this is just kind of additive. I don't know.
it's possible. It could be baked in. I'm kind of surprised they've been pretty wordy. I'll just, for lack of better words, they've been pretty wordy about these systems.
Wordy.
And
Right?
graphy too. Yeah.
In a good
We're-
way. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just the first word that came to my mind. They've been pretty wordy about this stuff. And so I gotta imagine that they would have said something, especially
Yeah.
since
They
they
would have
mentioned it
communicated if
pretty
they
heavy,
removed
at
it.
least a
Yeah.
few times, about a year and a half ago when they first brought it up. So if it's working there in the background, all I got to say is I'd like to just hear more about it, as well as I'd like to hear more about the outlier system as well, because I know skill-based matchmaking is probably at its loosest right now that it's ever been, but much of it has been replaced by the outlier system, and that's been kind of cloaked in mystery for a while. They've explained quite a bit of the details behind skill-based matchmaking, but they haven't gone too deeply into how they do the outlier protection and how that ends up affecting the people that aren't within the outlier protection, population, queue times, and that sort of thing. Because sometimes it's real rough for that. I mean, there's multiple reasons why I don't queue pubs very often, but sometimes it's super rough trying to just get any games, games,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Heard.
so, like, I ain't gonna sit there for too long.
No, it doesn't make it
Especially if it's not
pleasant.
like comp, but even in comp, it just takes forever.
No, I mean, queue times
know?
make a difference. I mean, like that,
So
like playing, like for an example, Overwatch, obviously very different game, but like when they had the roles locked and you couldn't swap, the queue time as a DPS player increased significantly to the point where if you were a top 500 player or like a GM player, like you would be waiting 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes in a queue, trying to get a game, and like you have these people streaming at that top 500 level and not finding a game and just playing other games for like 10 minutes while they're waiting for a game to happen.
Yeah.
Versus like, for example, Marvel Rivals right now, you select a match and boom, you're in.
yeah,
So
I've heard that multiple times. Yeah,
but that, I mean, honestly, that is a quality of life thing. I mean, it actually does matter. Like queue times, I know we talk about it, but like queue times matter for like a positive player experience. And it's difficult when you're like in a high skill bracket, to have a system that gives you queue times that are reasonable, I think. So I think that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's specific. So I saw that to speak to that, Cryo 21 Phoenix in the chat says, there are any other like additional tweaks or changes that Illphysics would like to see along with PvP changes? And that's a pretty broad question, but the first thing that pops in my mind is exactly what like Tiddly was talking about, is competitive. It is, give me a new emblem, give me a dope new gun.
Yeah.
I'm still not playing comp. I'm still not playing comp. Why?
Really?
I can't
Because
get a
of key
game.
times.
I
Yeah.
can't get a game.
It's a waste of time if you can't
half
get a
my
game.
games, half
Yeah.
my games are cheaters. You know,
Yep.
Yeah,
like
not
I'm
worth
like
it. Not worth
I'm gonna send in player for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I think right now, like I've tried to play comp. I'm sitting in not even adept. I think adept is right before like ascendant. You know, I'm not even sitting in adept. Why? Because I don't even get games. And when I get games, it's either cheaters or I'm literally playing the same team back to 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 back.
That's no fun at all.
You know, and it's just like,
yeah.
you know,
I remember they
it's-
had that
it is-
issue
it
a
is-
long time ago. I don't
it's
remember what they
bad.
did to
It's
fix it
bad.
though.
It's bad. Oh, I mean, well, it's two things, you know, because I do.
Obviously, like player population, is one of them.
That's one of them.
Sure.
Hey, look at you. But
I'm
the-
retired.
This, but the second one is when they ended up changing it to the to where matchmaking is almost exclusively within, like, I mean, when I say almost exclusively, I'm sure there's some stuff on the back end that widens the actual bracket a little bit, but for the most part, you're playing people in your rank, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, with diminished population, it just makes it like even worse, basically. But what that changed, where it was before that, was that it was a blend of matching people within your rank and also people that were around your skill level. So you had both of those things, and it ended up effectively broadening the, you know, folks that you can match, right?
So
But it
someone
would still
is
keep the
2 ranks
games.
lower than you,
Yeah,
but they're
they
within
were
your skill level. Like they're
Exactly.
going to get you. And if they beat
Exactly.
you, they could go up, you know, higher in rank.
They could get some
right?
significant points,
Yep.
yeah, based off of that, most definitely. And so they go up a lot faster, you know, by beating a team that was higher ranked, but we were, you know, sitting around generally the same skill level or whatnot. So the downside of that, it wasn't a downside personally for me, but for some people, is that you literally drop in and you're doing your promotion series, or you hop into like gold 3 or something like that. You're on the same skill level as me or whatnot, but I'm an ascendant. Then you might end up playing like me in ascendant, right? And my squad or
Okay.
whatnot,
Yeah.
right? I'd rather have games. So like that's my thing. It's just like, look, if I'm on the flip,
It
if
would have
I'm in
been just
gold
one
3,
game. Yeah. It's
you
not
know?
like you're gonna match him over and over,
It's
right?
not like it's gonna be every game playing
Yeah.
against like, you know, ascendant players or whatnot.
No.
But it's just like in the end, like it comes down to me being able to play the game or just not at all, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm in gold 3 and gotta face ascendants just so I can play the game and have some decent some decent queue times, then I'd be more inclined to that. There's not gonna be a perfect solution, right?
No.
And it's just
No.
like, especially in low pop, you know, periods. That's why I'm talking about like with this like
Yeah.
dynamic skill-based matchmaking or dynamic matchmaking, where, you know, population throughout the day or maybe throughout the week even ends up shifting. If the population ends up shifting, then we end up like broadening some categories to the point where queue times still remain relatively consistent. And it's just it's real tough. So, you know, again, going back, I loved the new like comp emblem for next season, but I'm not even gonna be able to
Emblem
get
games on point. I mean,
Emblem.
whoever's
Yeah,
designing
the
them
art
over
game
in
is
Bungie,
crazy. Yo, the
everything
art
is
team right now
gorgeous.
is elite.
They're
It's sad that
killing
their
it,
best
yeah.
emblems for comp are at a time where, if this was like 4 years ago, I probably would have been going for these emblems every season.
Yeah.
They are so nice,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
just don't care to go into
It's
it because
not
of, like you said, it's not,
playable. Yeah.
It's not worth my time. It's
Not
not worth
worth
my
it.
time.
Yeah.
Deadlock, that's a goat new shotgun. You know, I still don't have even close to like God Roll. I probably haven't even got that many drops because I can't get games, and the games that I do get, like I said, are exactly what I stated before. It's just a lot of cheaters, and then, you know, when there just happens to be a team on that, you know, fits whatever bracket you know, they want to match me with, we're just playing them back to back to back, or we just literally do not get a queue. Literally, I could be solo, I could be duo, I could be trio. It does not matter. Does not matter. So
we've spoken before about obviously Marvel Rivals, and you know, you've also said that you've been playing Elden Ring recently, right? So it may not be, you know, your area of expertise,
three times instant in Elden Ring.
Exactly.
Gotta say,
Right.
Instant.
That's great, man.
I get right
You don't have
in.
to rely on anyone else. It's great.
Yeah.
No. So ultimately, this isn't just a to play devil's advocate, this isn't just a Bungie Destiny thing, right? What other games are doing this, like, similar or different sort of matchmaking systems that could be implemented here, could work, or they have tried to work, they work it in, that it just doesn't work here? So, like, is there anyone else not having this issue, like, at the moment? Like, Marvel Rivals is hot, so of course everyone's jumping in.
There's a big player pop.
The
Yeah,
times,
There's got to be player
most
pops for
definitely.
most of those.
so
you know?
that I feel like we shouldn't even like look at that like to in a way, but like is there any other sort of system that other people are doing that Bungie Destiny is not,
that has a
could
low
work?
player population.
Has a low,
That's
like
like
similar sort of variables. There's so many multiplayer games sort of out there, and everything goes through their ups and downs. And you know, God knows whatever God there is knows that we have had a very down period for so long. But like, what could change in that way, and who else is benefiting from something that Bungie's not doing?
See, so this is my thing. I think Bungie actually is at the forefront of a lot of this stuff. You know, their statistical prowess for defining skill and just them continue, because remember they said that they're working on just like a brand new system for skill-based matchmaking and defining skill, right? And even if it's not like a brand new system, it's an evolution, a significant evolution of the previous system by which they just did find, you know, where people are on the skill spectrum. And so, you know, that's what I kind of alluded to a little bit earlier with regards to comp and how they were blending who you match, or how they were determining who you match with by blending rank and skill, so that they could broaden it that way. I gotta assume, you know, that especially the way the depth with which they define skill, right, and all the calculations that they continue to add more and more calculations into it, that it's kind of at the forefront of the industry with regards to that, especially when we talk about live service gaming, right? The only like comparison, you know, I don't play a lot of different PvP games, but I played a decent amount of Apex, and so I still stay kind of tapped into that community a little bit. You know, at a certain point, they were, I feel like they were doing something similar with regards to blending rank and skill, and people were having the same type of conversations within that culture over there, which was, you know, like, hey, I just started out for the season or whatnot, and I'm matching, you know, like a Masters player or something like that, or a Masters team, and getting in some of these lobbies. And I gotta say that, at least in my experience in Destiny 2, people got to reset their expectations. I think those comms, you know, are just really important to make sure that folks know, hey, look, this is the trade-off. You know, if you want, especially in low pop times or lower pop times, or maybe later in the season when people got from comp, and therefore it's just kind of like inherently going to be a lower pop time versus the beginning of the season, when something new is introduced and everybody's just jumping in. You got to have that expectation, that you're, you know, going to be facing people around your skill level, but you know, you're going to look and they're going to be on Ascendant. People just make that, hey, I'm playing people Ascendant, and you know, they don't provide the context that it was a tight game, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it should be about first and foremost, is just like a good, rewarding game. Now, valid that the point structures need to be on point to the degree that you're not, you know, like if you're playing an Ascendant team, I still agree that the points should still reflect that. So if you end up losing your gold 3 team and you end up losing the people in Ascendant, I don't think you should lose as many points, you know, for somebody that's just been playing all season. They're already shored up and they've already got what they need, and they've already like solved it for the season, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, you know, just finding games, queue times, just super important. Martin says, with increased transparency with the point allocation, it should feel better about personal performance. It may be too late, however. Yeah. And, you know, transparency is a double-edged sword, right, Martin? Because with more and more transparency on these increasingly complicated systems, right, it becomes less digestible to the average person, right? And so it's just really important with those comms to be able to define, you know, the ups and downs of the point structure to the point where folks can still understand it.
Mhm.
You know, can still understand it. Too much going into it, and people ain't trying to make all them they ain't trying to have like a
No.
comp calculator next to them.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
just so
Yeah,
they can
no.
see, just so they can validate.
No.
You know, understand and validate between games how much they actually. Oh, okay. 5 minutes later, they finally get it. Oh, well, that makes sense. You know, this is a fair amount of points right here, right? That I lost.
Yep.
Let me go ahead and queue into another game 10 minutes later after I ran this calculator that is probably made by a third-party dev, by the way. So we don't need a D2 armor picker for competitive games
Yeah.
for points.
Yeah.
D2
Not
point
yet.
picker for a competitive game. So it's tough. It's tough. It's not an easy problem, but I do think that one of the low-hanging fruits for Bungie is to continue to keep those comms like crispy for both folks that want to look up things in detail, right? But also just simple is best for the overwhelming majority of people. Simple is best.
Yeah.
And people need to be able to draw the one-to-one with regards to the fairness of the points that they gain or lose. Just seeing those numbers pop up each game, after each game, and being able to hear Bungie say this is why it's this way, and for that to make sense to them.
That's my issue with a lot of the posts sometimes, like Tony's saying. They'll give you all this super, super duper in-depth information, all these graphs, all these scales, and a lot of it goes over my head. And I'm like, I just need a TLDR. I need to explain like I'm 5 and let me know like what my PvP experience is going to be. And there's been a lot of, they've done a really good job being transparent with a lot of information on how the back end works, but sometimes leaves players like myself out who just wants to know this is going to happen. You do this, this happens, go play.
Yeah.
Well, that's such
if
a
they
good
could do
idea,
both,
though. Like, like
know?
having some kind of summary, bullet point summary of each section, saying like, here's all you need to read, all you need to know about competitive, like.
Because it's not that I don't want to know the in-depth stuff. Is that you can tell me all this stuff. I just might not understand
fly
it.
over.
Could you
in the sense that
imagine?
I need to.
Could you imagine getting
ideally, if you can get like a crispy TLDR, ideally,
that's all I
I'd
would
love
like
to see that. I'd love to see that in game.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
See that as some sort
or
of
more in depth. Like do the little splasher.
Is a
TLDR.
Quick TLDR, but it's enough, just enough.
For more in depth, go to Bungie.net.
So many people are not out there reading Bungie blogs.
Yeah,
right. Because they're not in the
this
game.
could be something cool. It could also, pull in some fuck that sort of deal. But could you imagine every time they put out like a TLDR or a patch notes or whatever?
No. They don't need to. They should let you go. I've always said this. I don't know why they don't do this. This is just my personal headcanon. They should have let you have a vendor, not really a vendor. Those screens by Shaxx. You should be able to go to Shaxx and read. Those screens should have some sort of update, interactive, where you can just read updates with the PvP, how it works for players like myself or players just are playing Destiny that don't check Bungie.net and all that stuff. You should be able to just go to that vendor, go to his little TV that Shaxx has, and have TLDRs of information, little snippets to let you know those things. Like
or even just
right
be able
there
to read the
for
blogs in the game. Like how many games have their updates pushed directly to their client, like in their game client? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I would just like something in game for me to just say, okay, they have this big posting with all this stuff. I just want to know a paragraph of what I need to expect when I go into PvP. That's all. Because a lot of times, like you said, I've played a lot of PvP, and sometimes I don't know like what's going on. Sometimes I've matched with just 6 Tonys on the other team, and then I've matched with a level 2 Guardian only on the other team, and then I just don't understand. Sometimes I'd be like, why am I matching with this person? Or why am I matching with this person? Or why is this person on my team? All that stuff. I would like some sort of just small, just snippet, just bite for me to just understand like the complexity of what is under the hood.
Okay. Were there any
six Tonys, huh? That's crazy.
Sir, I remember the first time I played you in Trials.
Ill Physics 1, Ill Physics 2, Ill Physics 3.
I remember the day. It was a Friday. It was a Saturday night
That's crazy.
on Cauldron and Trials, and I was like, "Who in the world is Ill Physics?"
That's crazy. I probably
Man
lost that
destroyed
game.
me.
Nah,
No, I lost 5-0.
that's crazy.
Oh, you remember the score?
I remember.
You know what they say, the pain stays with you longer, Dan. Yeah.
Was there anything in like the Heresy update concerning like the ability sandbox that excited you or
yes.
intrigued you in some way? Like how do you see these changes playing? How do you see these changes changing PvP as we know it currently?
Sorry, I'm just scanning. Like I don't think I saw as much in the Heresy Crucible update, specifically if you're talking about abilities. It was more so this week in Destiny.
Yes.
That last one. Those exotic changes in particular,
Some of them are nice.
I could see some of them like I actually took some screenshots of my phone because I was gonna
Post
mention
some
it. I was gonna post some stuff about it. Yeah. But while I'm looking that up real quick, if anybody else has any other thoughts.
So what I was talking about was like, so in general, the baseline Crucible ability cooldown penalty is increased from 15% to 20%. And so
for Prismatic,
that was
specifically.
That was in general.
Or is that
Prismatic
overall?
specifically. That's overall. And then Prismatic only. So active energy refund on Prismatic decreased by 20% in Crucible.
Okay.
So, and they added a 10% cooldown penalty to supers under Prismatic, so that there's more of a trade-off in picking these subclasses and modes.
Right. I remember that now.
Yeah, where supers timing can be vitally important.
That's good. I mean, I wonder, you know, us, it's going to take 15%. Sounds good to some people, not that great to other people. We'll have to see how that ends up actually playing out. Like, it's real tough in Destiny. It's been that way for like a while to really like be able to read a percentage of something like that, because they've gone and they've done that multiple times, right? They've done that in the past where it ends up being kind of significant. The ability cooldown change, 30th anniversary being a good example of that, of them like increasing ability cooldown so that you don't get them as much, and you actually felt that in the gameplay loop, right? But anytime, honestly, since then, I don't think I've ever felt it really, or I felt it like a minute amount, and then it just reverted back very quickly as people solved it again and found out how to, you know, build craft around it in order to get back what they previously lost. Or to loop, you know, like new things or like old things, or use a different exotic, or, you know, double up on an exotic plus an ability plus, you know, some mods or whatnot in order to get the same, and generally a lot of times a lot more, especially if a new ability was introduced, because that's always going to come through hot. So it's tough to discern, basically, is all I got to say. We'll have to see, you know, what the execution looks like in game personally.
Play with them. Yeah.
But the exotics that you were talking about, like, what were some of the things that excited you?
Ooh. I'll just mention the things that stood out to me.
Okay.
Let me see. Let's see. Only clip like part of this. It looks like I'm pretty sure it was sealed. Was it sealed cars?
Yeah, sealed cars grasp.
You can smile for me, yeah. Oh, okay. It wasn't sealed, but sealed is there. This was actually, I think, Gwison. It's Gwison, I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check. It is.
Yeah,
yes, it is
super?
Gwison. It is Gwison. So I kind of I see the potential for power creep in doing this. This big concept that I'm about to mention. But I do in the end like it. So the concept of like they in the past they had exotics that were super exotics, quote unquote. So they benefited your super, generally super refund, energy refund while in super, to make that super last longer. Gwison Best being a perfect example of that, right? I mean, everybody remembers, if you're playing in Forsaken, that Gwison Best Hunter, right?
Yeah.
It was recent.
That was you, wasn't it, Tony?
So so moving on. But I do like, I can see the power creep potential behind reverting it back to that again, basically, because
Okay.
in the middle part of
Yeah.
like, you know, like a couple years after Forsaken, they started gravitating towards, okay, if it's Gwis and Vest, it's just going to be a super exotic. It's not going to provide any neutral benefit to it, right? And then, you know, so basically exotics started becoming either super exotics or neutral game exotics. And so now we're kind of getting a little bit of a mix back to that. That's kind of dangerous with regards to a power creep and sandbox tuning thing, and just adding additional variables that they have to track, because it's you know, it's easy to look at these exotics in a vacuum and kind of like see how they're going to play. It's easier, I should say. It's not never easy, I feel like, with these things, but it's easier. But then when people start like build crafting heavy with it, especially with as many changes as they're making to as many exotics as they're making and abilities as well, it's just tough to discern. So we'll have to see how things play out. Again, kind of a good thing with that is it keeps people invested, engaged in build crafting and trying to solve something new and push something, you know, further than it's been pushed before. But with Gwisen, it was actually quite interesting to me that so it says now also emits a cloud of weakening smoke when you exit invisibility while near an enemy, and it works in both neutral and while in super. And that was interesting because smoke is really strong right now. I think the most annoying thing about smoke, I mean, it's smoke is strong since the final shape, like buff to smoke. But the most, I feel like, oppressive thing about smokes right now is actually how much it obscures your vision.
Yeah.
You know, so if I'm going to get like a cloud of weakening smoke after I exit invisibility, if I'm playing, you know, Night Stalker, if I'm playing, you know, with smoke or if I'm playing with invis in some way, shape, or form, sure, that's fun, you know, but I am just concerned because I've always felt since Final Shape Day 1 that the obscuring your vision to take away your agency against smoke just needs to be pulled back. That got to go, you know, that got to go. Like we already have, you know, quite a few mechanics in the game between slow, between blinding, etc., that just completely remove your agency where you can't fight back for a certain amount of time. And so that's what I'm worried about with this. But I am definitely like interested to play around with this, just in general, because, you know, Invis has been, you know, nerfed like a decent amount. And so it would be nice to, you know, give people a little bit of an incentive to get back on it a little bit, and make those crispy flanks, those crispy, I call them the Drewski jump scares, because he's so good at it. So good at it. You literally like oh man, I'm shaking my boots whenever I got to play against it in labs. And he comes through. We already know what's about to happen. He's so good at it. But yeah, so I found that like super interesting with regards to Gwis and Best. Let me see. Oh man, Radiant Dance Machine's about to get that crazy glow up. I love the fact that they're tying it to primary ammo weapons a little bit more. And so I'll read the change. So Radiant Dance Machine, you're going to get improved airborne effectiveness and hip fire mobility, range, and accuracy for primary ammo weapons. You're also going to get the fact that multi-kills with primary ammo weapons refund dodge energy. When the dodge energy is full, multi-kills grant extra charges. And just a note that powerful combatants and guardians will count as more than one kill. So, you know, guardians, you're going to get quite a bit of dodge energy back for the multi-kills as well. And sidearms, people. This might become one of the sidearm exotics. For real. Improves airborne effectiveness. Think about that. Hip fire mobility, range, and accuracy. And sidearms are the only like primary ammo, basically special weapon, because you use it in special weapon kind of circumstances, right? People generally pair it as their close range, close quarter weapon. So I think this is going to be like nasty. Pair this with maybe like some invis as well. Ooh. I think it's gonna be dirty.
Dan's gonna be running in with buried bloodline after you saying that.
I think this is going to be dirty.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm still. It's the same thing. I'm just like both excited and I know the game well enough, and I've been here long enough that I see what the potential build crafting issue is with it. But I'm always willing to kind of like see it's fresh, it's new. I'm always willing to see it. You know, before you know, really assessing you know, its strength in the sandbox and maybe how oppressive or not that it is. But looks fun. So that was cool. Titans, I just had a question because Titans is getting some of its previous nerfs reverted. So Titans Rampart removes several downsides applied by Assault Barricade to bring it in line with base towering barricade activity or behavior. Cumulatively, these changes result in a towering barricade you can shoot through with no other downsides while Titans is equipped. And it says in parentheses, in PvE, see below.
Yeah.
And so my biggest question is the question that I've got for the devs is just like, okay, well, what applies in PvE and what applies in PvP in this? Because it was just really confusing. I don't know whether the increased quote unquote, so increased barricade health from 400 to 500, it no longer increases barricade cooldown and it no longer decreases barricade cooldown. And then it says below that, further increased damage dealt to Titan's barricade by Guardians. It increased from 125% to 160%. And as a note below it, it says this results in near identical effective barricade health in PvP. So, and it says in parentheses about 2.5% less after these changes. And it's just like, I don't know what's going on with this.
Yeah.
So
I thought they were mentioning a couple things in regards to the difference in Towering Barricade and Rally Barricade have different health values in PvP, especially when tied to Titans. Last I remember. And I know that Titans had a bunch of effects that people at one point I think people abused Titans. Yep. I don't remember that meta, but I know that they abuse it a lot. That's one of the things I remember. That's at least what I remember reading and thinking, okay, well, they're making it to where putting on Titans in PvP isn't going to amplify already the buffs the Tyrant Barricade are getting. At least that's what I took from it.
They also like weakened it heavily, and it's sort of uptime, didn't they?
So it used to last a long time, and you could like not so much spam it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I just don't understand enough about like the history of the changes that were previously made, and also the current, like mechanics behind it. It was really tough for me to understand what was going to be the changes in PvE and what were going to be the changes in PvP and what was kind of like the end all be all on how Titans is going to look in both.
The way I read it is they are to me I feel like they're saying that they overtuned this Titan nerf because of PvP and they're trying to buff it a little bit in PvE to bring it back into kind of balance. Because that does happen sometimes for each of the sandboxes. Like sometimes there'll be something overtuned in PvP and then they'll make a sweeping change and then it won't be useful in PvE anymore.
Right.
And then same thing, sometimes in PvE something will be oppressive and they'll nerf it and then it won't be usable in PvP anymore. So it's like, I think they're just trying to retune it in PvE so it's usable, more usable.
There's also that aspect coming with it where when you put your barricade up, you get increased damage you get increased damage for every person behind the barricade. Yes. So the instant that a lot of people like myself thought of was if you could do it behind a Tyrant Barricade with Titans, obviously you can shoot through it. It'll give you the bolt charge stuff. The issue with Tyrant Barricade, obviously, originally you can't shoot through it. So Titans are going to help that for a very specific tanking DPS build that people will be able to apply.
Right.
But with this buff, you'll be able to tank a little bit more damage with the health.
Yes.
I guess that's why they only have it for PvE specifically.
Right.
Can we shoot a glaive projectile through it?
Dan's about to try.
Shoot anything through it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'd never used it, so I can't remember whether you can throw like grenades through it. But
I think
pretty sure you can. Yeah, pretty sure anything can go through it.
It's been like
on
like 18
side,
months since
on that side.
I haven't touched that in ages.
Yeah.
I think the last time I used Titans was in PvP though. Probably in Trials or Iron Banner or something.
I remember like just before it was.
I'm trying not to judge right now.
I'm a Titan main. What do we have?
I thought much. You got punches. You got punches.
Okay.
You got punches.
To be fair, I used to run stickies in Destiny 1. So I've always been this way.
Tilly says I was always the problem.
I have been the problem. Okay?
Yeah, you need to reset the problem is you, Tony. You need to reset your expectations. You clearly do not know me.
Just lower them.
That might be. I won't say that. So then my question is: so is there any change coming to Titans in PvP?
Only the top one, as far as I know. Remove the
But-
downsides to bring it in line with towering. It doesn't seem to be anything specific.
Maybe the
So
the NPVE see
oh.
below, like those bullet points are all for
Mhm.
PVE.
they're all PV. They're all being affected by PVE. I guess because they obviously don't want. I guess the one further increasing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is that
Yeah,
the
further
bottom one
increasing the
is the
damage
one?
dealt. Yeah,
Yeah. The
I
bottom
guess
one
is
is
their way of making
PvP.
sure
The
that
other
like
ones,
it doesn't. This buff doesn't somehow get itself into PvP and make
Mhm.
Titans like become oppressive again.
yeah.
So they're
yeah,
like
yeah.
over tuning it ahead of time.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think-
Okay. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just confused by the writing, like which would apply, what changes would apply to PvE, what changes would apply to PvP.
yeah, it is
But,
confusing.
okay.
Confusing.
Let's see, what else did I have here?
Maybe like one or two more, and then we'll get into
Okay.
like audience questions.
Down. What? iPhone, what are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, here we go. Let's see. I'll just try to be fast about it if that's okay. Let me see. Unbreakable, blocking damage with Unbreakable now returns grenade energy instead of super energy. So grenade energy is refunded at the end or returned at the end of Unbreakable and is scaled based on the amount of damage you block with it. I found that interesting. So Unbreakable, if folks aren't familiar with it, is an aspect on Void Titan and also Prismatic Titan where you block and you can block damage for a time. And before it would refund super energy. And everybody, if you know Ursa's Furiosa, like if you are blocking damage in super with that exotic, right, then you're refunding super energy. So
Right.
anyway, Ursa
It's
Furiosa,
Furiosa or Spirit of the Bear on the class.
Doesn't it use your grenade as well for that to trigger that?
So your
Interesting.
best bet for that is Spirit of the Bear and Spirit of Armamentarium. You can just keep the bitch going like crazy.
That Unbreakable
gotcha.
sounds really good now that it's regenerating
Yeah.
your grenade energy instead
Exactly.
of super.
So it further kind of like feeds into that gameplay loop.
They have added like a durability to it. So if you take so much damage, even though you're keeping your grenade energy up, there is a durability to it. It will break.
Okay.
Right. So, but you have to take a shit ton of damage.
Yeah. So what's interesting to me when I saw this is, okay, well, man, you end up equipping this now. Like, are you going to be able to tank a decent amount of super damage? And then because it's refunding, gray energy, can you then get your suppressor? Could you then get a suppressor like out of that? Could you actually? You see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you let go, it takes away that charge, right? So when you release it, it sends back like a shockwave and like staggers the enemies, right? You can't apply this. If you do suppress a grenade, you don't supply the suppressor effects to the shield. Like if you bump into people with it, it like weakens them.
I know. I'm just thinking, hey, I need
use a shield, get the subject, then have another grenade to suppress.
No,
exactly.
If you haven't used, so if you pop it up and you literally have it up for like a second and a half, then release it, it will expend the rest of that charge, and then you'll have like a charge behind you, which you could then throw a grenade. There is like a quick moment for it to like, to like almost like think of it like a handling sort of recharge for a sec, and then you can chuck a grenade. But if you go through it and then you go into the next one, it uses up.
We're talking about Armamentarian Spirit of the Bear specifically.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if you'll see it. So when you do take damage, it goes back up and it still stays grayed out. But as soon as you let go, it goes. So there's no using it, then chuck a grenade. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And
interesting.
it will not allow you. It's obviously depending on the super, but I can't imagine there's any super that's like a pinpoint. So I don't think it tanks. I think the durability would go through if it was just like a normal 6-shooter, 3-shooter golden gun. But I don't see any other super that wouldn't
just straight up
through
just
it. Right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But obviously you got Spirit of the Bear. I did some testing on it sort of when it first came out, and then testing every time they've changed things. But yeah, it can be a significant amount of super energy from that, same as you would get from Ursa Furiosa.
Gotcha. Understood. So it's just going to continue to bolster. It's going to continue to bolster basically your grenade energy to either enhance the Unbreakable.
As long as you're taking damage, you're good to go. Yeah.
Gotcha. Something else that I saw was Capri's Horn, which I love as a Titan exotic. Now sends out 3 waves of flame instead of just 1. These waves no longer return towards the barricade. They only travel outwards once. The tracking on the waves has been enhanced. Combatants damaged by these waves are enveloped in a sunspot. Love sunspots. So cool to see that coming back around. Players are enveloped if they are defeated. Now requires a solar super to be equipped to create the flame waves from the barricade. So, the glow up now, requiring that you put on a solar super for prismatic. And of course that ends up extending to Spirit of the Horn, which is the class item version of this.
So how would that work?
Spirit of the Horn has inherited the change made to Capri's Horn. On thruster, Spirit of the Horn will now emit 4 waves in an X pattern. So you see why I mentioned this. You see why I screenshot this.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds cool. That sounds cool as shit.
Just a flaming X on the ground.
That's gonna be great.
Yep. I love the fact that Bungie is continuing to double down
That's great
on thruster to implement more and more synergy with exotics and abilities so that you can use it with thruster. So there's additional like tools in that kit now that you don't have your barricade. So I think that's just so dope. Titans turning into y'all Titans, y'all hate hunters, but y'all are literally turning into hunters. I'm just saying, y'all hate
that is something I've been saying for like a year. We need more on that, man.
This sounds fun. I don't know.
Because Tony, I don't know if you know like how it used to work, right? If you did Abeyant Leap, Spirit of Abeyant Leap, and it used to be the freaking ball,
that with Capri's Horn, man.
Exactly.
No,
exactly. Gonna be the play.
Spin everything and
but you know how Abeyant Leap goes out in 3s already.
Mm-hmm.
That now Spirit of the Horn and Capri's Horn is going to do that sort of by itself.
Same thing,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So then what's going to happen with Spirit of the Horn and Spirit of Abeyant in 1?
Yeah. We don't know. We're about to find out, though. And then on top of that, remember that.
I'll do that first thing next Tuesday.
Thruster works
X
with.
That's.
It's going to be interesting to see
you
how
said Solar
all
Super?
3 of those.
Solar Super for that
needs to be equipped. Yeah, Solar Super needs to be equipped.
I think the last time I used thruster was oil meta.
Oh really?
Yeah, I really don't use that on Titan.
I always use it.
I love thruster.
I don't know.
I'm if I'm using barricade, I'm in an issue. I'm having an issue. So.
I love having my barricade.
I need it to pull.
It's gonna be interesting going back to barricade for like specific things because I haven't used barricade really in a while.
No.
Interesting. I just don't reach for thruster, but I would reach for this. This is really cool.
Yep. They're trying to get more people onto it, and I'm totally here for it because I think it's so dope. And like I said, I'm just trying to call out those. Those hypocrites, they hate hunters, but they turn it into them. Verdi's Brow getting that rework, turning into kind of a tier situation. So now uses a meter to track death throws. New duration per tier is 8 seconds at ×1, ×2 is 7 seconds, so on and so forth, all the way up to 5 at 4 seconds. When one tier's duration elapses, the buff will downgrade to the next lower tier rather than expiring entirely. So the bonus grenade recharge rate per tier is 0.5% per second, and all the way up to ×5, which would be 2.5% per second. And so Verdi's Brow been kind of just like that redheaded stepchild for like a minute, especially on the
you're talking about
the class item. So I'm happy to see that change is coming through and that it's getting some more love basically. Lawrence Driver, something that stuck out to me was the fact that I don't even know how the Lawrence Driver works like that, but it says triggering Lagrangian sight by picking up a bounty tag. I don't even know what that means.
They drop
Add
bounty
6
tags
ammo to the mag. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Killing a Guardian, I guess, picking up a tag, add 6 ammo to the mag. What? I don't think
it didn't do that at first. But
no, this is new.
What's this? Is like the void freaking icebreaker or something?
May as well be.
I don't know what's going on with it, but I'm pretty sure day 1 we gonna see real quick. Real quick.
How's that going to work for PvP?
You walk... a terror and Crucible.
Yep. And
it might
be back again. 6 ammo. That's crazy.
Here in PvP, you get 2 shots. You get 1 kill. You've then got 7 shots.
Wow.
That's what
the math sounds like to me.
All right, so Thruster and Lawrence Driver and
you need to stop. and Titan's
Never.
barricade. And Titan's barricade.
Never.
Crazy. Crazy.
All right, my loadout is set for trials for next season.
Heresy,
it's cool
Trials,
see,
loadout on dim.
It's
You're
cool
gonna
to
run
see
into Tony.
Centrifuge.
He's gonna
Centrifuge is
still
about to get.
destroy me.
No, I don't know
Doesn't
about
matter what
that.
cheese
I don't know about
pick.
that. Titans are that's my
I'll tune
kryptonite
into
right
his
there.
stream.
That's why I
Timmy,
just
what the
ended up
fuck?
moving to Titan for like 2-3 months. Titans is my kryptonite. I got no patience for it. That's why I love my Titans that run thruster, because I don't have to worry about some barricade like stalling my fight. I got no patience.
I
no
see why you're like,
patience.
oh man, we can give more Titans on thruster.
I need more Titans on thruster so we can actually
Let's
like
give
finish
them
a
some
fight.
more. Let's bribe them some more to use
Yeah,
thruster instead of
please.
barricades.
Please,
Frost is so good with the
100%.
glaive, man.
It's cool to see Centrifuge get an increased mag size to 45, just because simply that gun is so underrated. Auto rifles in general right now, so underrated. Like so underrated. They're very, very, very good, especially if you have some sort of a kill perk on it. The TTK just goes crazy. So it's cool to see that. Borealis about to get the Void buff, since they're changing it to the point where now it's no longer this elemental capacitor type situation on Borealis. Now it's just going to get, like they just said, they're just going to give it the Void buff, of 20 stability and 10 aim assist permanently, because they're changing it. And I'd have to go down and like look at how they're changing it overall. But that is something that stood out to me for sure. Simply because I don't know, I'm okay with it, because that is such an underrated like sniper rifle. It feels incredible. That gun feels incredible. So I'm kind of excited about just more people discovering like how great of a sniper rifle, just it being such a great sniper rifle overall. It has a great aesthetic to it as well. So sure, I'm always concerned about sniper rifles getting any sort of a buff or whatnot, but it's exotic, number one, and number two, because I love it as an exotic, just through and through. I'm excited for more people to discover it and to fall in love with it the same as me. So yeah. We see Legend of Acreus getting a glow up, reduced spread angle of 33%, increased maximum projectile range from 12 to 18 meters.
That's wild.
Yep, we're going back to year one. And let me see. The last one basically, the last one basically is it's cool to see. I didn't think the stabilizing rounds necessarily needed it, but it's cool to see it get like a glow up, because I love the stabilizing rounds. Like I said, my favorite SMG and PvE is Hero's Burden with destabilizing rounds. And so now destabilizing rounds grant volatile rounds for 2 seconds if any targets are hit by the volatile burst from the initial final blow, and also reduced internal cooldown from 4 seconds to 1.5 seconds. That latter part, that 4 seconds to 1.5 seconds is the one probably that interests me the most, just to be able to activate it as frequently as possible, just to always have volatile rounds, volatile rounds to just stick ads with, is just something that truly appeals to me. I love seeing that swirl on as many things as possible in PvE, that's for sure. So yeah, some dope changes, a lot to kind of unpack day one, for people to solve. So it's going to get a little chaotic, I do feel, in PvP, but I feel like it should the first few weeks at the very least. And then if something ends up being kind of out of band, they can address it hopefully by mid-season.
It should feel fun before it's settled.
Yeah, 100% fun and a little bit chaotic. Nobody in Destiny 2 in PvP at this point should have an expectation that things aren't going to be chaotic for the first couple weeks, as people build craft to their heart's content, and as people continue to solve and create videos and things like that. So that's good for the game.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have anything else to add before we hop into questions? All right. Then the first question that we have comes from Twitter. This one comes from Sean Francis on Twitter. Hypothetically, if someone was all over the place stats-wise in PvP, but has always wanted to improve, how terrified of something like Lab should they be? How would they go about starting this journey, not wanting to slow anybody down? Hypothetically, of course.
Not wanting to slow anybody down. I assume.
I think they're
Okay,
asking like if they wanted to improve in a space like labs, like, but they didn't want to feel like they were slowing anybody down. Like how would they go about starting?
So just to give folks kind of like a baseline, labs is kind of what we call my community scrims that we've been running out of my Discord and my stream for like years now. It's an environment that is set up to encourage, mentor less experienced players to improve and realize whatever PvP goals they have for themselves, whatever play style they want to adopt or play around or expand upon. And it's especially like focused on, like I said, less experienced players, folks that maybe haven't done scrims before, are just dipping their waters into trials, or just dipping their feet, I should say, into competitive. Those are the folks that I try to latch on to and make sure that it's an environment that is conducive to them first. Minimal toxicity, a lot of moderation by myself and my mods. And just like I said, a lot of encouragement, and it really is like the gateway drug, that I use to just build community as a community builder. And so like labs is an opportunity for me to introduce, especially new folks, to my community and to the people in my community. And that leads me into this question right here. Any new player that comes through, especially my less experienced players, but just any new player, it's just important for me to give them the best that labs has to offer, and by extension, the best that my community has to offer. So bring them in, and almost all the time, I'm going to put them because most people are introduced through my stream, because I have a queue and I run labs through my queue. Because again, labs is like pickups, right? It's not set teams. I pull people from that queue. I balance the teams myself. We have like a level system in the Discord to assist me with folks maybe that I don't know where their PvP experience lies. But most people, because I play with pretty much everybody, other than, like I said, if somebody's like brand new, most people I have a good footing on where they sit, experience skill wise, to the degree that I can match make, and I can balance teams pretty well. I've had some good success with that. So again, going back to the question at hand is join me, almost always I'm going to put you on my team. And that sets a good example as well for anybody else that's watching, or anybody else that's on my team, or even on the enemy team as well, on how to, lead in a situation where you have to, like, number one, like how I speak, or how I guide, or IGL, in-game leader, someone who is both new to labs or new to scrims or something like that, is different than how, somebody that is playing Face It 24/7 or something like that. So that's one. And two, it's, like, everybody's been in a situation. If you've ever like dropped into scrims, dropped into a voice call in trials, with people you don't know, in a more competitive setting, how stressful that can be, as somebody who is new to that environment, right? And especially if you've been in this environment for a while, I would hope that folks understand and see the perspective of how those experiences aren't good, for a lot of casual players or a lot of less experienced players, as they are trying to dip their feet again into a more competitive format. The scrim community in a lot of these games, not just Destiny 2, is not very kind to those players. Oftentimes it can be a very toxic space. And so it's just really important to set that example, like, first and foremost, make sure that folks feel comfortable and recognize that it's a different type of space, whether I'm there or not. So first thing, for somebody trying to dip their feet in the labs, come through, join the queue on stream, introduce yourself. Like I said, 95% of the time, like probably more than 95% of the time, it would have to be like multiple new people in that lobby, basically. You're going to be on my team, and we just work it, for 3, 6, how many ever games that you want to play. And that's had overwhelming success to hook people on labs. And then from there, it really is about just trying to find that the second step of that is, it's about community. right?
Mhm.
Find people and latch onto people within the labs community and within my wider community where you're around the same level, you guys have the same goals that you vibe with, you know? And
Mhm.
then as far as people that are more experienced than you, there's quite a few people that are super helpful, that are leaning into mentoring more and more, that you know, are answering questions whenever somebody just asks a random question in the labs chat or in general chat with regards to PvP. Find those folks that you feel comfortable around, you know, that that get you and that have a mentorship style that you're receptive to, you know. And those are the people that you can often just be like, you can literally just at that specific person, and that specific person will likely get right back to you. Because these people are nerds. They're literally in labs 24/7. Holy crap, man. It could be like 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning and pings are going out. But it's really just about like, you know, finding people beyond me. That's what's going to keep you playing and keep you in the environment to where you're just constantly improving and playing in those games and being excited about your improvement cycle that you're in, and any progress that you're making is, you know, finding people to play around. And finding those mentors and folks that you feel positive encouragement from, and feel good being around. So it's just a wider community thing at that point. So those are kind of my thoughts.
Heck yeah. And your community's showing up and they're like, and we have much more permissive rule sets than what people think when they hear scrims. Off stream, I think we've done a decent job of keeping out bad actors and egos. So it sounds like it's a really just good place to cultivate your skills.
Yep.
And
Very,
kudos
very
to you
active
for building that.
moderation, and you're right. Like the rule set is much broader than the traditional scrim rule set, because the objective is I want people to bring in like as much of their pub kit as possible, because those are the things that people are trying to get good at. I want to encourage niche play styles, you know, and for folks to find success in things that, you know, maybe aren't traditionally you know, highly represented in like, for example, like I said, traditional scrims or Face It or something like that. Yeah. So it's been fun. It's been rewarding, and yeah, it's a blessing to be able to do it. Dope community.
The next question comes from Cryo21 Phoenix. With Marathon releasing later this year, allegedly, do you think that Destiny 2's population, especially the PvP side, will suffer as a consequence?
Different types of game.
Because
like,
it'll be a burst of Destiny community playing it.
Yeah,
just because
of course, and because, you know, it's the same
and then
thing.
There'll
like
be a joke that goes back though.
So like Halo players coming to Destiny when it first came out. You'll have Destiny players going to,
that was me,
you know, Marathon. Exactly. So, you know, Mr. Bloody Lasso Man over here. Yeah, it's a different game. So of course you're gonna have people try it out because they know Bungie and they know their work, and you know, we're a part of the Bungie community, so we've been sort of doing it. But you know, I'm sure people will either find that they have never played an extraction shooter before, and they'll either love it or they'll be like, "Oh, this isn't for me," and then you'll have people come over from other extraction shooters and jump in and be like, "Oh yeah, this is cool. This is, you know, not up to what I'm in." But you know, people will come back to what they like, or they'll find something new they like. It will definitely, yeah, when it first comes out, it would definitely affect the player base because people will be playing it to suss it out, test it out.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I mean, an extraction shooter is substantially different from an arena shooter to the degree that, again, people are going to try it out. You know, like me, for example, I'll definitely try it out. But is an extraction shooter really my thing? It hasn't been in the past. We'll see if I transition over to an extraction shooter, but I can't see that I'm going to do that. You know, I've always been an arena shooter type of player. And I think, you know, most people, like I said, are going to try it out, feel the same way, and either come back or not, you know, and become that extraction. I think Marathon's success is going to rely mostly on pulling people from other extraction shooters.
Yep.
You know, which is why they first were playtesting with like Tarkov folks, you know.
That was the room, wasn't it?
Yeah, with Division folks, etc. So no, I think they've done a good job in kind of you know, picking that next game, that next big game that they're developing, and making sure that it's, you know, substantially different of a genre to the degree that Destiny will be fine, in relation to that, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Black Zard asks, apologies if this was mentioned earlier, but for the folks on the panel, what motivates you or would motivate you to play Destiny 2 PvP?
Playing on Tony's team.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know if you want to do that anymore. I don't play pubs no more. Play on my team in labs. We could do that. You know what I'm saying? But
I matched on your team once and I had to quickly back out. And then some people sent me a thing of you going like, oh, fucking people leaving. I'm like, oh shit, no, I pissed Tony off. And then every time since I've always been, no, I know everything's fine. I'm like, no, I pissed Tony off. And then every time since I've always matched on the other team. I'm like, I pissed someone off up there, man. Like,
should have stuck around, man. Should have stuck around. Gotta say.
Tony's buddy.
For me, it was just a choice, to be honest. Like I've talked many times about how there was a point that like I played PvP just as much as I played PvE, and I dedicated a lot of time every season getting max rank, going flawless every weekend, and probably up until 2021, I still played the game with the aspiration and intention of becoming better. And this is probably from 2016 to 2021, so about 5 years. I'm constantly moving on to PC, and at least for me, between the sandbox changes, between loot changes, because there was a time when loot in PvP, the goal of PvP for a time wasn't the loot at all. It was just getting better. It was just, that's all you kind of like, I could spend like 8 hours in trials one week, and at times feel like I wasted, not really wasted, but didn't really receive a lot of enjoyment out of it, in the sense of like, I spent 8 hours and I didn't even go flawless. Now you can hear that sentiment and hear that statement and think, well, you just gotta get better. And while that's true, it's still a game.
Yeah.
I might not have felt like if I had probably spent those 8 hours and felt like I improved or whatever, then my time wasn't wasted in my mind at the time. But I can't remember what season, it was sometime after Beyond Light, and when comp started to really change, that I started losing interest in improving in Destiny as far as a PvP player. Because there was a time that I was really was trying to like be good at Destiny's PvP, and started playing it more than I did PvE. And I can't think of a specific reason why. I just know that like different things in the game changed, different just the way the sandbox moved and the way the developers started to engage or not engage with the PvP side of the game just really started to make me pull away from it. And I do remember personally, like what really made me just like lock at like just, okay, I'm done, was, and this is really weird, but like when they finally like closed off the Unbroken seal, I remember like when I was really trying to get really hard into it was like season 3 and season 4, when like Unbroken really first started coming out and all those like super high pinnacle aspirational weapons and titles and all that came out, was when I was like really starting to try to get into a new PvP thing. And for years I was pretty bad, started getting decent, started getting kind of good, and started getting consistent in PvP over the years. And when they finally stopped really promoting PvP in the sense of like there's reasons to play it, as far as comp and trials, when they finally pulled away and said, okay, this version of comp is gone, I just remember saying, I don't really feel like engaging in this new version of PvP outside of just casually with my community. And as I started getting away from that, I just kind of never got back into it, if I'm being 100% honest. And I still at times kind of want to go back to being somewhat a competitive player. But as far as Destiny, I know the amount of time it would take to get that skill back is time I don't want to invest. So at least personally, I don't know what could get me back into that part of PvP in the sense of like, I'll hop on and play Iron Banner with chat, just super casually. I'll sometimes pop off, sometimes just, be the worst player ever. And I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Whereas like 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be, if I wasn't top fragging, if I wasn't like playing exceptionally well, would, be really upset about that because I was trying to improve. So I don't know like what could change. I just know like there was a time that I just was really into it, and now it's just not that.
Right.
Do you feel like any part of that is what's required as far as the play styles? Like, do you prefer, like, a really simple, comparison would be, do you prefer heavier gunplay to the ability, heavy sandbox
That would be one of
for
it.
like a while? Because
But I do remember like a lot of times nothing was more annoying when I was trying to get good than being in the middle of a primary fight and then special just came out or an ability came out or something. And I'm like, I just committed an entire magazine of being kind of decent at my shots, trying to like, move around the map in a specific way to win this one. And then I lose to just an ability or something else that felt like I know it's in the game. I know it's a part of the sandbox's kit, but I don't feel that I lost that fight fairly. And I know that's a weird way of thinking of it.
Or at least you lost that in a fight in a way that wasn't rewarding. Personally, for what
not rewarding,
you enjoy in that gameplay loop. And so it's easy for me to speak, to this because it's similar, for me. If I didn't have like labs, I don't know if I'd still be like playing PvP at all, and that's not to say that I don't enjoy, pubs every once in a while. Like I said, Iron Banner is a really good example of that. Trials every once in a while when they have a good map and something that I want in there and the population is decent. But it's the inflexibility, right? Because it's just like, I know that's why when Bonafide Heroes just like, yo, I just need to get on Tony's team, and I'm just like, I don't know if you want to be on my team anymore, like I ain't getting no better in pubs. Like,
what's funny is I used to enjoy seeing like PvP names because then I could like, even when I matched you originally back in like 2020 on Cruise in Cauldron, I didn't know at the time, but like when I saw PvP names that other people were like, oh, this person is really good, I was like, okay, I think I'm kind of decent. Let me, measure myself against them to see what I need to improve upon, how I can get better, how they play, and how they respond to different scenarios. That's how like I was at the time. Now I'm not anymore. But like at the time, a lot of that was how I was looking at PvP.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. My thing is, like, I'm not getting any better in pubs, and I'm kind of washed in pubs just in general because I just have like for the longest time like an inflexibility on how I want to play. In order to get better in pubs, as far as like statistically, like I would have to lean outside of the play styles that I enjoy. I have to commit to getting eliminations or getting certain degrees of damage, utilizing things that I don't find rewarding, using. And I want to make it a point that that's not a judgment statement on how anybody else plays PvP whatsoever. It's your game. Like it's totally valid, as long as folks aren't cheating, obviously. But it's totally valid, and I just want people to enjoy the game. If the game ends up not being for me as a whole, but ends up being successful in another demographic, because of the play styles that it ends up catering to, I'm all for it. That's fine. But there's just a lot of inflexibility in me now because gunplay has taken such a back seat, and that's what I love about the game the most. Is the gunplay at a certain ratio. 30th anniversary, I continue to go back to, was like my favorite time, probably in all of Destiny 2, where the way that the way that the game was incentivized to play was literally in step, 1-to-1 with how I like to play. With just the right ability usage, just the right primary weapon usage, special usage, like it was in step. And that's where I was literally at my best in pubs. Like I could just destroy lobbies because they just couldn't Like, and at that time too, I will say people weren't as good, especially with their primary weapon. And I talk about primary ease of use going up, but also I'll never take away the fact that people are just better at hitting their shots with primary weapons now, in particular. And that wasn't something that was a thing as much back in the day. Back in the day, hand cannon to hand cannon, most people were not outgunning me. Now, like it's just like, hey, let's go. Okay, all right. I lose plenty of people stepping up. So anyway, that inflexibility is first and foremost with me. I always just hope that it's for somebody. If it's not for me, I just hope that it's going in a direction that's for somebody, and that it's for ideally the largest group, of folks in the population. So if I'm a dinosaur, that I'm cool with it. I just always want to see Destiny 2 and Bungie ideally succeed.
Anybody else wish to add to that conversation?
I don't know. I used to play quick play actually in Destiny 1, just casual with people for fun. And I think it was fun because there was a lot of people playing and it was a new game. And that definitely didn't persist into Destiny 2. I think for me, I don't enjoy playing PvP right now because I feel I'm obviously a pretty bad player, and so I feel like cannon fodder, and it's not a good experience in Crucible, in competitive Crucible. I have no reason to play quick play. I will play Trials if there's something very good in Trials, like gear or weapons that I want to get that are good in PvE, because I'm mainly a PvE player. That being said, I think Trials is the most fun PvP game that I've ever played. I like the fact that there's only 3 people. I like the fact that you're working together, that it's strategic. It's less chaotic than 6s. I think all of those factors together make for a very interesting PvP experience. So I'll probably hop back in Heresy just to grab the armor, because the armor is really sick. It's like super nice. And then I'll probably hop back out again.
Ridley, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about? So we had that shift, right?
Yeah.
Of quick play coming from 4v4, then it went to 6v6. Like it did back in D1. Would it be more appealing to you for it to go back to 4s at this point? People are moving faster. The game is moving faster right now.
Like Trials of the Nine.
No. Specifically quick play.
Oh,
from
quick
6 to
play.
4.
Right.
I'm not talking about the 3s playlists. The 3s playlists, leave those alone. But I'm just saying, do you think it'd be more appealing to you at this point to try to get into like quick play again if it was 4v4 instead of 6s?
No, it's just that the player population is too low. Like they're just really everyone who's going in, like you said, with those hand cannon battles, everyone you're going in and matching is an expert now. Like you're not playing any Christmas noobs anymore. It's like everybody is skilled now. So like I am not hopping in quick play for any reason at all. 4s, 6s, you could put 22 people in there. I am not in.
Let's not say anything too ridiculous. If they put freaking 22 people player lobbies, I'm jumping straight on in.
Give me big team battle.
I'm
team battle with
in.
like warthogs.
Halo Infinite, man, added what was it? 12 player teams, so 24 players.
Yeah.
It's absolute carnage. Give me that shit, dude.
Okay, so I would
I'm
try
always
that
saying
for like the novelty. But like I just think quick play for me is chalked. I think it's like a mode that I've completely written off. I have interest in Iron Banner and Trials just for the loot. And other than that, until there's a high player population, that one weekend where they completely loosened SBMM and the player population was super high was the most fun.
Talking about Guardian Game Supremacy? Are we talking about?
I'm talking about that one weekend before they tightened it up again. I can't remember exactly when that was. That was the most fun I've had, like ever. It was so much fun. And so I'm a casual player who I don't mind matching people who like destroy my team, and I don't mind losing. It just feels bad when that's the only experience that I have in that mode. That's when I'm putting it down. I'm just not interested in that. I can, I've experienced enough horror on a daily basis and like disappointment. I don't go and get that in my video game experience,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The horrors persist, but so does Crucible.
Yeah.
With that, yeah, I don't know. The Trials changes sounded interesting to me. That might get me to hop in more, like to that, especially since it seems like it'll be more casualized in a way, at a certain set. So that seemed interesting, but I don't know. It would have to be a weekend where something is where I feel like I need something from that playlist, like a weapon or something.
Maybe you might hop into the Iron Banner like experience of that that Trials of the Osiris passage,
Yeah.
and find yourself liking it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe.
that's what I hope is
Damn,
folks
yeah.
get hooked on
Then
that,
we'll ask
you know, and
Trials
then
carries to Sundays.
yeah, and they are incentivizing folks going back. Like that's something that I feel like should always be, you know, not necessarily at the forefront, right, of the experience, the forefront of what they're trying to incentivize with regards to, you know, who they're trying to include and what the fire team, you know, makeup should be. But, you know, trials help, trials carries, you know, as long as in a positive environment, but that's anything, you know, in gaming, I suppose. I think is an overall pro, you know, for both you know, content and you know, spreading awareness of the game in the directory and in the wider like Twitch directory. And yeah, you know, I hate that I can't do that, you know, anymore. The last several iterations of trials, do any trials help just because of, you know, the way things are set up. So I'm glad that they're kind of incentivizing more threes, and incentivizing folks to play and to help out, you know, folks that haven't been flawless that weekend, if flawless is the end goal.
Like,
And
yeah.
I guess the question is this too little, too late? And I'm not necessarily asking, it's more rhetorical. Are these changes substantial enough to bring people back into Destiny P? Or does it need to kind of like maybe that combined with a content expansion, which brings the player population back up? Or is it too late? Is the game settled to a point where something like these changes, which if they had been introduced when the player population was higher, maybe they would have sustained the population? Is it too far gone, I guess?
Is it almost to keep the people that are here and like,
But right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Tony was saying, that's pretty bad right now, right? The people who are here,
exactly
it's like
right.
yeah.
Keep the people that are here before you lose more. But as you said on your second point there, you know, with Apollo coming out, with the expansion after that coming out, you're fixing, hopefully, right, what, you know, doing your best and implementing things to fix the issues that are here. So when people do come back, there's more reason to stay.
That's more what I'm
Like
thinking.
you're plugging the holes in the
well.
boat. So when you get more people in the boat, you don't sink.
Yeah, these
Correct.
are definitely
That's what I'm
not the type of changes that are, you know, directed at bringing in like fresh, brand new players.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
about
You're
like
not gonna
keeping the
do
ones
that.
that are here and pulling back the ones that were so disgruntled that they left. Right.
Right.
And so trying to give them that experience that they were here for in the first place, trying to renew that for them. So and you know, with Frontiers coming up, I think that's their big push, of course,
Right.
to try to
They
get
want
new
it-
players in.
Yeah, fresh and shiny when
so-
people come back. That's kind of what I'm
Exactly.
thinking too.
Yeah.
And I think it is kind of disappointing that they haven't done more like resource allocation to PvP because PvP in particular sustains the game when the population is low. And so the fact that we've gotten to this situation because they haven't resourced it correctly, and I know that there've been like circumstances, other reasons why they haven't been able to make substantial changes. But I think that's really unfortunate because, like I said, PvP is one of the things that people keep playing when there is no new PvE content. Always fresh. There's always playing against a human being is always an interesting challenge. Like that's all fresh. You don't have to introduce new maps every week, but like you do have to make sure that you're giving it attention and resource.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe if it's good, then after the new content, it'll help sustain the game better.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope that it's in my opinion, it's always about just like not taking anything for granted with them, you know, letting things kind of like languish because, you know, the numbers haven't dipped yet, but it's all about kind of like, you know, being a visionary It's all about
Mhm.
always, evolving, staying ahead of the curve, and making sure that people feel like you're doing something in the background to evolve the game. Because if you don't do that, then look how quickly the population dipped off in this game.
Yeah.
Look how quickly, like holy, look how quickly, we lost all those players, and there was nothing that they could do in the interim, to stop that, because that would have had to have been planned. Those changes in order to stop that or to keep that population would have had to have been planned way earlier in the dev cycle, before any indication that this was going to happen to this degree. So it's really just about, like I said, being a visionary and
innovation
being consistent.
too.
Being consistent. Yep.
Trials was a shot in the dark, right? It was just like and it was so immensely successful. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's an innovator die type situation. And I think that like that applies to PvE and PvP. Like, we need to have like people who are given the space to be creative, like creating a new like Trials.
Yeah. And there are plenty of those folks still there, and they definitely, lost quite a few of those folks as well. So hopefully, they see the light, replenish their ranks in a way that is fair, to their employees, and we can get the old Bungie. Well, I mean, not the old Bungie, because that's never going to happen. But we can get some of that back, basically.
Yeah, it's
I think the thing about how Destiny, where Destiny's place is within the first person shooter market is there's still nothing like Destiny.
Right.
Still nothing that feels as good at doing what Destiny does. That's both PvE, but especially in PvP, right? And so people will come back. I do believe that people will come back, even disgruntled players. I mean, you see how many disgruntled players still play the game every day. Even disgruntled players will come back if there's a reason to come back and they get hooked. I think the thing that changes over the years, as long as Destiny continues to be a unique experience, the thing that changes with these disgruntled players that have left the game is there's just less of a tolerance to stick around. If they do come back, it's just like. They start to recognize the trends
like,
more and more.
I've been hurt by you before.
I lived
I've
through
been
this
here before.
I've seen this. I know this pattern.
Yeah.
Yep. Most definitely.
Yeah.
And so that's when like they come back less and less. Right. We've all heard that. It's just like, hey, I came back and then I played for a little bit and then I left. You got to hook them. You got to keep them. And that will require you to continue to innovate, because the thing, even though Destiny occupies a very unique space within the first person shooter space or genre, or just even just like if we're talking about PvP specifically, the player versus player market, there are so many fresh, new, and rewarding experiences out there. Marvel Rivals being, the one that comes to mind the most immediately, that are just doing things well. I mean, it's Overwatch, but it's better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's just like it's just, like
they figured
I
it
just
out.
continue to hear like they figured it out. They basically solved Overwatch. So many people like played Overwatch and just disgruntled. People, everybody that has played that I've been talking to with regards to Marvel Rivals, like they play it a lot and they love it. I haven't heard a single disgruntled player, like personally in my experience. Not to say they're not out there, but I'm just saying, people are playing it because they love it. Of course, give them time. Of course, give them time.
Just till those queue times go up. Yeah.
Yeah. Give it time, of course. But I'm just saying,
until
like
GTA comes out.
there are a lot of fresh new experiences, both in gaming, but specifically in PvP, arena, but in gaming in general, that are providing that type of rewarding gameplay loop that people are starving for in this game. That innovation that people are starving for in this game, and that's now Destiny's competition, because it's clear that it's going to be really unlikely that somebody will be able to reproduce what Bungie has done with Destiny 2.
There's a reason
right
people like Dan go from Halo to Destiny. I mean, I actually went from Halo to COD to Destiny, but there's a reason I picked it up, and it's because, like you said, it feels like nothing else. I am a little disappointed in the marathon release because it feels very niche, and it doesn't and Destiny 2 is more of a broad
Yeah.
shooter with a lot of different types of modes that you can access. So it feels like it's not being built specifically for the Destiny crew. So and for me that's also disappointing because I want to know where the future of the game is, and I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty around that still in the community, that also affects the player population, especially with like the 10-year story that just kind of wrapped up and all of that. So I guess I maintain concerns about what's going to happen, but that's mostly because, like you said, it's this amazing, unique experience, and I love it, and I want to have the game be something that I want to pick up to play. I want my friends to want to pick it up and play it. But until then, I'm going to itch to scratch elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think so. Another thing that's kind of confusing about Marathon is that it seems like it's a game that's chasing a trend of like 3 to 4 years ago.
Right.
So we'll see. I'm hoping that it's successful.
Which is, when did they announce it? 2 years ago?
Something like that. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
when
so-
I mean I hope it's wildly successful. Like I want them to
do
get a
too.
lot of money out of it. It's just not something that personally interests me.
Share that money over here because they got our money, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that they are trying to figure out, you know, where to go. And I think that I don't know. I think I saw this comment on Blue Sky though, that you have this aging out like gaming community that like all the young kids are playing mobile phones on their like mobile games on their phones.
Playing Blatro on the
They're
toilet.
not right, exactly. And so like but you have this like, and also it's tough because COVID really made everybody a captive audience, and now you have that transition away. So like the 10% growth every year is not a situation for video game companies. So how do they pivot? Like so like Marathon to me feels like that pivot, right? But it's not a pivot that's necessarily attractive to all who are currently playing Destiny. It's very niche.
Sure.
So, but I mean, I hope it goes well. I really do.
Same. All right.
Yeah, I continue to maintain. Last thing I'll say is I continue to maintain that, you know, Bungie deserves, you know, continuing to put stock in our ground floor devs that have that passion, that have that creativity, that are trying to push new and innovative mechanics, stories, etc. You know, like we got to have visionaries, man. Bungie got to push these visionaries that have this direction, this innovative direction for the game, like and they got to try to double down on that. And you know, it sucks because they need Destiny as like a moneymaker, right? So they need some degree of consistency that locks up their innovation, right? But at some point they got to take some chances, man.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they got a big game.
Die.
They got a big game. So in my opinion, you got a big game. Okay, sure. Make sure that you got a staple somewhere in the game. That will continue to kind of and then pivot somewhere else. And you know, maybe this is, you know, Trials is the first step in that, you know, trying to like, you know, substantially innovate there in that particular avenue. And then if that works, then, you know, that opens up the opportunity for them to put more dev time resources in another area of the game, innovate substantially. Certainly always want to see, in my opinion, I'm not selfish. I always want to see PvE get that substantial, big innovation. If that's going to happen, because, you know, that's the place that's going to draw people in to play the game. That's where the new players come through. They end up funneling to PvP, but that's what the new players are. So we just need that vision back. We need that vision. We need that direction. We need somebody who just sees it. They see the next 10 years. Yeah. And then they need to lock that down.
Okay. All right.
It's okay. I'll do it. I'll run Bungie. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
I'll
You're hired.
I hear you get some cool cars out of it. So well, that's episode 88 of the Destiny Digest podcast. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out with us this evening. Tony, thank you so much for opening up your night and for giving your
thank you guys for doing the same. Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys. Most definitely. I appreciate everybody else making time to come through and have some good conversations. And obviously you guys, I love y'all. Y'all are great people, man. So
same.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Why don't you tell why don't you tell the people, so you got a game to give block coming up on February 4th, right? From 3 to 5
p.m. Eastern.
Heck yeah. why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you got going on that day for incentives and everything?
Oh boy. Incentives. So again, my game to give, my people are, I don't know, we're still trying to work through that, but game to give, my feature stream for the Bungie Foundation is on February 4th from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm super excited. Jared hit me up, like personally, that's my beer pong, champion buddy right there from GCX, man. We ain't lose a single game. We goated like that 2 days in a row. You feel me? But hit me up, and I can't say no to him. I'm not honestly traditionally that great at like fundraising, but I'll always give 100%. So I'm excited for it. I'm gonna be prepared for it as much as I possibly can. Incentive wise, my folks have we're still working on that. My folks have suggested a couple things like a D&D like one shot stream.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Traditional like things like like loadouts for a certain amount of time. I can't remember some of the more. I don't want to like put too much time, much more time on the clock. But there's some other stuff in my Discord. But the D&D one is the one that comes up in my mind. That's maybe a little bit different from other people's incentives. But Balatro, yeah, I keep on telling people I'm trying to play Balatro, but I've been playing so much Elden Ring. I haven't had much time outside of that, and my 2 or 3 streams of labs every week. So just excited for it. Work hard for it. We got $5,000 as my total, and I just hope that we're blessed enough in order to reach that goal for the little lights and to try to benefit some underrepresented folks. So
heck yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's twitch.tv/illphysics, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Heck yeah, check out Tony there. Epic Dan, what about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv epicdan22. Weekly, you'll find me putting out some stuff on YouTube. Pretty weekly as well on the TikTok. And if you want to hear me rant about whatever's going on in my life, you can just follow me on the Twitter and the Blue Sky. More so Blue Sky, but
heck yeah. Tiddly, what about you?
I am live on Twitch Monday through Friday, 9:00 Central. I'm in Minnesota. And username Tiddly on Twitch, Minnesota. And then I am on Blue Sky, same name, Tiddly.
Heck yeah. Anna.
Hi.
Hi.
Everywhere but Twitter. I've up for games to give on Tuesday, 7 a.m. EST. So if you want to wake up early before you go to work, come on in. We'll be doing some crazy GMs, depending on what happens. So maybe some weird shit. But yeah, no, just live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the morning. So we'll see you about.
Heck yeah. I know.
Very cool.
I know Sammy Cat has a featured block. I gotta get that date down for her.
I think she's this week from what
she's this week. Gotcha. But my name's Danfinity. You can find me on the internet at danfinitygg or on my website, preferably my website, danfinity.gg, which just points to everything that I do. My featured block is on February 5th from 3 to 5, literally 24 hours after Tony's.
Yep.
And we're going to be doing all sorts of stuff. I actually have like some really cool stuff to give away, like a Steel Series headset that's Final Shape themed, as well as a couple of the Control Freak sticks. Would that come with the special edition tin? Pretty cool. And then we're going to be doing a Destiny spelling bee afterward. And I'll be looking for participants for that. So come through and hang out, raise some money for some awesome kids, for some kids for the LA Wildfire.
Mithrax. How do you spell Mithrax?
It's Mithrax. Can I get that in a sentence, please?
Mithrax.
But
phone a friend.
But yeah, so we'll be doing that. It should be a lot of fun. The last time we did a spelling bee, it was pretty hilarious. So with all that said, thanks for coming out to episode 88 of the Destiny Digest podcast, and we hope you find what you're grinding for.